What do you think about this whole Navi situation? Sure.
I believe he's playing the RMR,
You
and
think he'll be in for the major cycle?
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
yes,
Wow, really?
I'm 90% sure.
I I
I
don't
wouldn't
really
say
hear.
so.
You
Okay,
wouldn't, or
why,
what?
Sticker?
I wouldn't. I wouldn't. I don't
Okay.
know why. I just feel like maybe he wants to play, but since he announced it so seriously with all the benches and clearly having some personal stuff to go through, it might take longer than he expects or he wants to.
Best esports odds. VIP program and a variety of bonuses. Fast and easy withdrawals. Bet on every possible CSGO match and tournament, as well as any other esports game. Only on 22Bet.
Are you tired of your boring old skins and looking for beautiful new ones? Tradeit.gg is your place to go for easy and secure trades within seconds. Simply pick and choose whatever item you want to trade from Tradeit's huge inventory. Verify the trade on Steam, and you're ready. With the lowest fees in the market and a beautiful, easy-to-use UI, Tradeit also offers you the option to instantly sell your items for cash. We accept a wide variety of payment methods. Tradeit.gg is the go-to place whenever you want to try out fancy new skins. Start trading today at Tradeit.gg.
Here's a good vibe, trend, 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 trend. Here's a good vibe, trend, 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 trend. Here's a good vibe, trend, 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 trend. Good vibe, trend, yeah.
Seems like someone slept in or slept through their alarm or missed the time zone. Chad is not with us right now. We tried calling him. If someone's nearby, maybe if someone's in Perth, maybe we can knock on the door or something. So in the meantime, I'll be kind of handling the ship. Welcome to HLTV Confirmed, sponsored by 22Bet, SteelSeries, and Tradeit.gg, our thankful and lovely sponsors. For the time being, as I said, I'll try to do my best. I'm not prepared at all to host anything right now, but we have some nice people here, so I think it's gonna be fine. Striker, you had some nice words said to you today. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I mean, those words don't come with a without a negative connotation whenever it is from Richard Lewis. So yeah, I mean, I'll take it. I'll take that as a W, man.
There we go. Some I don't want to say praise, but like thumbs up for your article on the phase complexity thing. So that's not something that happens every day. But other than that, we have STYKO here. Martin,
Hey.
how you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me, for the invite. Let's enjoy this, even without SPUNJ.
He did really throw a spanner in the works. I think we all kind of effed up, to say it like that, because he did say he's gonna wake up at 4 a.m. But the problem is that we went from a CEST to CET in the meantime. So I guess he miscalculated when his alarm needs to pop off. Chad, I mean, he did agree. It was his proposition to do the show at 4 a.m. local time, which turned to be 3 a.m. local time. So not much we can do. I have to say, I think the worst thing is that he's still going to wake up at 4 a.m., but he's actually not going to be able to like do the show properly. So you're like waking up at 4 a.m., you're making that sacrifice, but you're actually not reaping the benefits of it fully either. So it's pretty awful. It's pretty awful. Martin, how often do you wake up at 4 a.m.?
I don't think I've woken up that early in past 3 or 4 years.
No, cold showers and watching the sunrise and sunset, maybe even, who knows, depending on where you are.
Absolutely no chance. I remember there were times where officials started at 9 a.m. and those officials were pretty much instalos. So it was like awful Counter-Strike all over the place. You all remember the Stewie 2K 10 a.m. drama?
Yeah.
So SPUNJ
So
is gonna
imagine
get the
9 a.m.,
same
man.
treatment right now when he comes to the show.
Amazing. Let's roll the bumper, Lucas, and let's go into the talk with STYKO a bit. Bro, the hot seat's so hot, I had to turn on AC. What the fuck? On fire right there.
We just got demonetized.
It's not in the first 20 seconds. It's fine.
What did I say?
Don't
I say?
swear,
That's-
it's a family show.
It is a family show. We get demonetized anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Something always happens. But we
Have
don't
to
have
make up for Chad somehow.
Yeah, exactly. Martin, what's going on with you? Where are you? What's your vibe right now? What's your vibe today?
So today I had extremely productive day actually, so I'm pretty happy with everything, and it's been reoccurring theme ever since the bench. I suddenly find myself in having a lot more time compared to being, on the active roster and practicing pretty much every day, 8 to 10 hours. So there's a lot of shit that goes on in my life. Oh no, demonetized again. So there's a lot of stuff.
No, we can swear. Don't.
So there's a lot of stuff that goes on in my life, and suddenly I'm just able to navigate through them, manage it. It's personal stuff, also in-game stuff, also my content stuff. Like all these things are kind of meshing well together, and I'm really enjoying the journey so far, even though it's rough being benched and not knowing what's gonna happen with your career, uncertainty, etc. It's tough. But I'm really proud of myself how I'm navigating through all this. So I've never been in this position really before. Every time for past 8 to 10 years, when I was a professional player, I always had a team. So I was going from team to team. The benches were always like kind of 1 week-ish deal. Right now, it looks like it's going to be a little bit longer. I'm not sure if I will, get an offer to come back to active CS. We will see. We will talk about that. But for now, I'm enjoying this period very much, because what else is there to do? Be sad about everything? Nah, that's not for me.
I just I got reminded of your bench and mouse, and I was like, that wasn't a week, but to be fair, it wasn't that much longer, because how long was Slacks in that team? For like a few months, maybe, right?
Yes, but in the meantime, I was playing for Cloud9.
Yeah.
So I went on a loan, and the loan pretty much happened like 2 weeks after I got benched. They approached me, so I kind of knew that where am I going to be. And then when we eventually disbanded in Mousesports, so Oscar went out, I went out, and I think Sunny. Yeah, it took me literally one FPL game before I was approached by Michael back then to join No Chance, where I kind of swapped positions with Frozen. So Frozen went to Mousesports, I went to No Chance instead of Frozen. So it was literally one FPL game. So it was one day, and I kind of started talking. I started instantly talking with players and teams, and people were interested. Yeah.
Is there a worry for you? That like you just get out of the cycle at this point. At some point.
Obviously there's this chance, but I wouldn't call it a worry, because I see it as a one time, like, I see this opportunity to move on as well, but at the same time, I still have like the hunger and the drive in me to compete, which is the most natural thing for me right now that I want to focus on. But if that doesn't happen, I don't think the world is going to collapse for me. I don't think this is something that is going to put me down. Worst case scenario, I will be here just to prove my worth, maybe later, maybe not in upcoming months, but maybe even throughout 2024. And a lot of players came back from a little bit of a break, and they were maybe even a little bit better, maybe refreshed, maybe different perspective. And I know age might play a role in this kind of moments of career, defining moments of the career. But being 27, I don't think that's still an age that people should be just this guy's too old or something like that. Of course, there's a lot of young players coming in, but as Snappy said in the Danish podcast, I think last week, age is just a stupid number, and we've been pushing that boundary every year since CS:GO really came out. So I'm proud of all the players that are above 30 and still competing at the top level. Snappy, Kerrigan, everyone around IGL role included. So
I obviously don't understand Danish, so I couldn't listen to that. But I saw just the headline on the HLTV forums, and it was just a classic Snappy quote of like "age is bullshit" or something like that. So I don't know if he said it like that, but it sounds pretty snappy, classic Snappy. But yeah, I mean, let's talk about the Apeks time, and then we can see like what kind of the future is for you, because I feel like that major run was kind of it was unexpected for a lot of people. Like, you were kind of this dark horsey team. Like, everyone knew you could pick up some wins. You had like a decent mix of players and everything, but no one saw you in the playoffs, especially not in the semis of a major, right? How do you, like, looking back on it now? Obviously, the team had its peak. There was one change, and then things kind of didn't really work the same way after later in the year. Looking back, what do you think? How did that like potential come together to such great effect?
I think it's a mixture of things. First thing being that we took our time at the end of 2022, where we benched Shocks, and we took time of 1 or 2 months to actually trial out a bunch of different IGLs for the role. And that process came to pick cadiaN out of a bunch of players, which I think has been probably the best pickup we could have had back then. And ever since then, it was just really hard work, and our major focus was the actual Paris major. So the RMR, the qualifiers, the good run at the major, and we were just focusing completely on that for half a year. So that kind of, we were reaping our rewards back then. And the major, I wouldn't say it was necessarily a fluke. I don't know how to define really a fluke, but I don't think we overperformed. I feel like everyone else underperformed at that major. So Vitality obviously was probably only one tier 1 team that didn't underperform. I'm gonna be honest. So that's what really got them into the final and eventually win it. So props to them. But everyone else, I feel like everyone else was really shaky and very, very beatable.
What do you think about your individual game during the major? Because there were some pretty good games. There was obviously a lot of hype, not hype, but like a lot of praise for Knock for the clutching, and then JL obviously had let's say a breakout group stage, and then later on kind of JChem, and everyone kind of the cadiaN against Liquid game. I think that was his big game. How did you feel individually after? Obviously there was a while passed since you're kind of on a big stage, right?
Definitely, but I think that major was kind of re-sparked. It kind of re-sparked Ignite within me, because I realized that I still have so much to give. I think it was one of my best tournaments when it comes to individual performance after a long time, and it's not necessarily like reflecting in the stats, but the amount of impact and work that was being done on the server. And I was saying this immediately after we went out basically. So I spoke with Kuban, our coach back then, and I realized that it wasn't really me playing differently. It was that maybe my teammates, we were playing differently as a team. Like, teammates maybe felt a little bit of a pressure, and there was much more space to be taken, and I was kind of there to do it. So I was unintentionally given more space to perform better, and I think overall that really pushed us over the edge, especially in the quarterfinals against Liquid. I had a good game there, and even in some of the group stage matches. So I think kind of we were doing mistakes, but we were able to kind of flow it on the server, and me being this piece that was ready to step in for teammates that were maybe a little bit scared or a little bit like passive, I would say. So I was ready to be this kind of guy, and I'm proud of myself that I did it, and I recognized it during the game, because I I wasn't ready for it before the game. It wasn't like we will know that we are suddenly under pressure and we will underperform. No, it wasn't anything like that. It was just kind of intuitive during the game. So I'm happy about it. For the rest of my team, as they were obviously playing, everyone was playing a really good tournament. NOK with the clutching, as you said, like he had some insane clutches on Ancient against an IP that we managed to go into the playoffs. Obviously calling by cadiaN and overall synergy between him and Kuban was really good, and JL was just machine throughout the group stage.
Do you think you are kind of like a big game player in that sense? I mean, there's obviously players who welcome that sort of a pressure and they kind of step up to that challenge, right? Then there are players who, you know, will just perform differently on the negative sense, you know, that they're just a bit more scared, take less initiative. From your experience, like, did you have that before as well, like in Mouse Times or Hellraisers?
I don't think personally I'm a big game player. I'm gonna be honest. I think I'm going to be playing same Counter-Strike against team that is ranked 50 in the world and then ranked 2 in the world. I'm trying to be, you know, as consistent piece in the team as possible for exactly this reason, that if someone falls into a trap of being unconfident or just being a little bit scared, I am there to be the reliable one. And that's why I don't want to like shift my gameplay too much between the opposition that we face. Obviously, you need to adapt, of course, but I don't want to adapt to the point where we're playing worse team. I'm just going to disrespect them by, you know, swinging everything and chasing frags or whatever. Like, I don't think that's an identity that really fits me. And obviously, you need to have those kind of players maybe on the team, but I'm not going to be one of them. That's why it doesn't really qualify me as a big game player, because my gameplay is not going to be affected by the team that we're playing against. It's going to be affected by the thing that me and my team needs to perform and win. If that is to play passive and anchoring the side solo with the nades, I'm going to be doing it. If that's something that I need to go with NOK and play around his ob, let's say being able to trade him, that's gonna happen in the game. Like this, I would consider myself player of that caliber.
Yeah, I think I might misquote him, but I think Maui Snake made a tweet like around the time of your benching or something, and he said like, STYKO is a great player to have on your team as your 5th best player or something like that. Did you see the tweet? What do you think about that take essentially?
I saw the tweet and I didn't think of it too much. When I saw it, I was like, what is Maui Snake tweeting? Like, what is happening? And then it's kind of stuck with me. You know, I kept thinking about it like 3 days after it reoccurred, and then 5 days later it clearly resonated with me, the tweet. And I was thinking about it, and he is essentially right, because whenever we faced any kind of success in my previous teams, meaning Mouse Sports, we were top 2 in the world, meaning Apeks, we were semifinalists at the major, I wasn't performing in a way that I was carrying a team. Like I was winning clutches left and right. I was entering left and right. No, that's not happening. Like I'm there where I'm needed, and sometimes I'm not needed anywhere, and that is going to reflect something in the stats. So if you look at the stats, I agree with Maui Snake, but I don't think it draws really full picture to what I bring to the team. I don't want to be the 5th best player or the worst player on the team just because I can't perform. No, that's not happening. I want to be able to have those 4 players around me to perform the best of their abilities. If that makes them being better than me, I'm completely fine with it.
But I think that's kind of what he meant, you know, that you are the like rounding out the team in a good way, you know, not like he didn't mean it in a like derogatory way that you're just the 5th best player, but more like you are the piece that people should be looking for to round it out. You know, you have your 2 stars, you have your opera, you have your in-game leader, and then you're the final piece, let's say.
That's why I scoffed at the tweet at the beginning. And then I kept thinking about it and I realized how he meant it. So that's kind of reflective part of me that understood it later on.
It is one of those tweets, especially like if you had, let's say, if you had like a weaker understanding of English, you could just be like, what the fuck is this guy saying? Like, you just instantly reply, suka blyat, and then like things go to shit, right?
I also had a Russian player in mind just before you said that, so like this is 100%. Yeah.
So I think it's full. It's pretty deep. But just talking about because some people also that are watching will be like, oh, when did STYKO carry a game? But like after your mouse stint, when you went to like the no chance mix, and these guys kind of had to step down from essentially a top 5, top 10 team for I would say mouse top 10 for like 2 years almost, something like that, and like competing. I think you had like that run of like 12 playoffs in a row or on big events and lands and stuff like that. So you step back from that, you went to no chance, and you play like tier 2, tier 3 online, and you had that period when you were like 1.20 rating. And I remember talking to you, and you're like, it feels silly that you can do that, you know, that there is, at least back then, there was such a gap from tier 1 to tier 2, tier 3, and also how much things change with a different role. So just looking back on it, what do you think was more important? Was it more of the role, or was it just like the skill of the opponents at the time that were the difference?
I think it was definitely a role. I'm a huge believer that roles matter a lot in Counter-Strike, and I'm not here to just blame support players or label someone a support player. No, that's not it. But it's really about the initiative taking of the player. And if you're initiative and you're able to orchestrate a little bit of a round and how to use your teammates, you're essentially going to have better stats. And if that's what we're talking about here, if you're talking about rating and performance and carrying, stats are going to be the like metric that you're going to go by. Those players are going to be generally having much more success. They're going to be in much more fights. They're going to be much more impactful. This is just what's going to happen. When you look at the Heroic right now, when they're having 2 stand-ins, for example, do you feel like s1mple is the worst player out of them? I don't believe so. I think he's one of the best actually on Heroic. But when you look at the stats, he's not having a good time right now. But the ability of him setting up some of the youngsters that came in, Syra and Criso, I'm not sure how to.
I guess.
Yeah. So the way he is able to make them look and perform better, I can see it in the demos, for example. Like I can, he's playing my role. s1mple is playing my roles, and I've been watching his and Rob's demos for past 2 years, almost every game that they played, honestly. And it's just night and day how he manages to play around the team and how well he plays. So props to him for welcoming young guns in a big team in this way.
Yeah, I kind of almost want to switch to that and talk about like Astralis' potential signings, but I think we're going to go off topic too much. So let's just keep on Apeks for a bit, because after the major, things didn't go so well. Obviously, JL was the first to leave, and then Kuben, right? And then after a while, but almost like 3 months, 4 months later, and kind of deep into the second part of the season. So what did you think changed for the team? And I think it's not unexpected for teams to drop off after a big event, and not even like meaning it's a fluke, but even the teams that win majors that are good usually have a downturn after that, because you had like a pretty big result. How did the losing of JL and like the big result, how did that affect the team?
I think losing JL, first of all, let's start with the success of the major. So I think that success was kind of our downfall, because we as an Apeks, as a group of individuals and as a group of a team and a whole organization, we had a clear goal throughout the whole year: get to the major and perform the best we can. That was our goal. Once we made the goal and players break after the major came, suddenly we didn't know what to do. I feel like we were not prepared for the success that we got at the major. And I'm talking from both players' point of view and organization point of view. I feel like after that, we took it kind of in a wrong turn. I don't think we... Now it's crazy that I will say this, but I feel like this. I don't think we sat down after the major with Apeks and we discussed the goals for the next season. Obviously, the goal would be get to the next major and perform best we can. But guess what? Major isn't happening. What is our goal of the next season? Like, we didn't know. And all we spoke about, let's get to as many lands as possible, and that's it. But that's not the goal. That's not like getting to the LAN it shouldn't be a goal, because we will get to those LANs thanks to the invites because of our major performance. We're already there. We're setting up a goal that is already accomplished.
Yeah.
So we come to these events and we and we're lazy. Honestly, like we as a players, we drifted away from the identity. I feel like we didn't work as much, we didn't work as hard. We had our mentality problem issues. We didn't enjoy, I think, spending time together that much. I think it all was a part of the role that we just didn't perform well. We go to the events and we bombed out last place. Okay, so we went to Saudi to Gamers 8, last place. We went to one other tournament, I think IEM Cologne. We didn't even make it to the actual event. We went in the play-ins. So, and I don't think we realized how big of a deal it is because we are at the LAN. That was our goal, get to the LANs. But we didn't perform that at all because we were already like, okay, that's it, I guess. And we didn't have this drive. Yes, we didn't have this drive. It sounds bad when I say it like this, but I really don't have better words to explain it. But I feel like we were running out of steam, and we didn't know how to handle the success that major eventually gave us, and we weren't ready for it. And that's why even Kuban removal, obviously JL was bought out, we couldn't do much about it, but Kuban's removal was also part of the team, like how we want to work as a team. We drifted away from the identity, we drifted away how we work, we drifted away from being friends, and we were kind of tired of each other, I would say.
Uh-huh. How much did the JL stuff or JL leaving affect the team? I mean, obviously, everybody now kind of sees him as this massive positive energy because like all eyes are on him now that he's in NAVI, but maybe that was a little bit overlooked while he was in Apeks. How much do you think that played a part, even whether from a performance perspective or even just the chemistry in the game? How much did him leaving affect it?
I think when he left, I said that he is not irreplaceable and s1mple will do just fine. And I still stand by these words when it comes to in-game performance. I feel like the skill difference between those two right now is a little bit more obvious because obviously JL is having good time in NAVI. They're performing well while we are not. And s1mple is therefore struggling. But raw skill potential, very similar. But when it comes to hyping and mentality and being friends of the server, I feel like we lost more extroverted guy and more like kind of introverted guy came in, which is already very dangerous and slippery slope in a team that we have right now. Because I'm already like kind of introverted. It's kind of known about me. I'm not really, I'm focused on the game and on the performance, and that's it. It's not like I'm there to create a good mood. I'm there to perform or like support the mood that is already there. And if there's no one to create this good mood, that might be a little tricky, because people are starting to get on nerves for each other, and it's not optimal. But I think Kuban was really good at this. He was still helping us with how to behave between each other, how the relationship between players should work. And in the end, it just didn't work out. Performance was the issue. We kept bombing out of tournaments, and I think Apeks maybe felt pressure to do something about it.
Mm-hmm. Is that why the Cuban decision came in as just like kind of a response to all the results and lack of direction towards the second season?
I think so. I think that would be perfect for Apeks to reply or something, or the organization. But
right.
But I would say that the main differences were the different thinking, how we should play the game and how controlling he was of the team. I'm not sure. Like it was a bunch of different reasons, and performance was very much one of them.
Okay. I just wanted to just kind of touch on this whole like lacking of goals and stuff like that, because I think it's a thing that goes under the radar easily. And even for the biggest teams, I think we can think of FaZe and like Kerrigan's. There's always an event in the season or two events in the season that is the focus, right? And you can't, if every event is a focus, then no event is the focus. And especially if you kind of go with that approach that every event is important, then all of those losses hurt a lot more than being like, as it should have been. If there was a major, it's like, yeah, maybe we can bomb up these two tournaments, but we have the RMR invite, we go to the RMR and we qualify for the major, and then we perform at the major because that's the peak of the season. But there is not really a peak of the season in this year, right? There is in this like half of the year. There's no like one tournament that is bigger than everything else. Cologne was at the beginning of the whole thing, so that's not really a thing that you can do much about. Like it's kind of the first event after the break. Whatever happens, happens, and then I don't know, CAC or like Blast Fall Finals, which is super closed. So that's not either going to be like the goal. So I can see how that can be problematic, and yeah, it's just important to have something bigger to aspire to, because if the approach is everything's important, then you bomb out 2-3 tournaments in a row, then obviously everything sucks. So you need to make drastic changes when realistically maybe some things were, I don't know. I was just thinking about it before. I think I was taking a shower, classic shower thoughts. Apeks as an org, it's not like they're small. Like they have been investing. I don't want to say like it's not, I don't know, liquid level of money, but they've been pretty consistent. It took quite a while for them to get a team that actually went to the major. There were some changes, like Shocks coming in. That wasn't like a cheap guy to have on a salary for sure. When you think maybe it was kind of a position for them to think, should we now invest and get bigger players, or are we happy with where we are? Because if they're happy with where they are, even bombing out of these lands was not a problem. Like I don't think that's in itself a bad result if you're still being like top 16 in the world, top 20 in the world. Like I think that's what was kind of lacking, and I still don't know what Apeks actually want to accomplish. Do they have aspirations to be like a top 10 team? Because if they do, they didn't really sign any players that are big names that could put them there in a way. And this is not like defending my boy STYKO, even though I would if I needed. But I think it's just it's kind of an interesting situation where they are right now. It's kind of in the middle of the pack with all of these international teams. Do I feel like they're kind of doing better than like NIP and Fnatic because they're kind of trending a bit upwards? Yes, but they're not doing anything to kind of stick out of all of the other orgs that are there.
I don't know if this is like an answer, a question I can answer, because I'm not part of the team anymore, and obviously I'm not part of the team meetings right now. So I don't know what their goal is. If they even said it after I left, I got benched. But by the time I was there was no goal. That's all I'm going to say. And I think it was very detrimental for the team to not have intangible and tangible goals at the same time. So something you can actually achieve by performing, let's say, we want to make a playoffs at the EPL because that's the now second most important tournament for us after major, which is not happening. So EPL playoffs would be something like a good tangible goal. And then intangible goal, something like stabilize ourselves in top 15 because we are free falling after the major performance. Something like this is already kind of good start to get a groove on. And about the investment parts, I have no clue about it. I just know that after the major, I think Kuban was pushing for a little bit of, getting more staff into the team, such as psychologists, because he realized that our mentality was our biggest problem. And to the day that I was leaving, we didn't have anyone. So it's 3 months. And I know we were searching for some. I don't know where it kind of went. I don't know if right now people in Apeks or players in Apeks, they have someone to talk to about these things. But until EPL, there was no like defined, fix for this. That was Kuban pushing for months.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it also comes as a problem just because of the timing of CS2. And I mean, this isn't just about Apeks. This is literally about everybody. Like nobody knew when it would come in, how much it would affect. So like setting goals even was difficult because like your goal is just like, let's fucking see how like we can how we can adapt to this game, because nobody knows how much will change. The meta shifts like pretty dramatically. So all of that stuff, just it is difficult to work with anything tangible at the moment. Like if you think about just this transition and the tournaments that are happening now, as Prof said, like all the tournaments for the rest of the year, especially now, for some of these teams that don't have partner slots and stuff like that, they didn't already qualify for a full final, world final, or some of this other stuff that's already happening, then like there's nothing to play.
I mean, it kind of, when you look at all other teams and everything that's happening in the kind of transfer space right now, kind of aligns with the same thinking. Like when you think about like, why are some of these teams making changes? It doesn't make any fucking sense. Like why only from like financial contractual side does it maybe make sense? But like, why would Twists leave FaZe, right? Why would NiKo leave G2 to go to a like completely new team? Like, these things from a result perspective do not make sense. There is no like super bad thing that they did that warrants. Like, Twist literally just won the latest tournament, the first tournament CS2 with FaZe, and he's apparently out. You're laughing, Striker. You saw the messages.
because breaking news, Chad has woken up and his first messages on WhatsApp are, wait, what? On my way. So yeah, we have Chad coming in a moment, I guess.
Yeah, it's perfect for when we transition to the recent news and stuff like that. Let's just talking about like your future. I think that's the next thing to talk about. You talked about off time. You didn't say you were chilling, which is the classic thing that every bench player says when you ask them what they're up to. Just chilling every time.
I mean, you guys know me. You two know me. The rest of the chat doesn't. And like, I can't chill, man. Like, I have to do something. I have to do something. If I lie in the bed for half a day, I feel extremely guilty. So I need to work on my, side projects. I have a bunch of different things that I want to focus on. It's in real life. It's in like personal stuff, investments, doing well in my mental well-being, hitting a gym, and then also now content side, playing individually, streaming, like doing some kind of weird stuff that I didn't have time to do when I was a pro player. Like, I don't know, stupid stuff. Like, I'm looking at my gear. I'm testing a bunch of new gear because suddenly now I don't feel obligated to perform at the day-to-day level.
Like so
I'm experimenting with everything that I can, and I'm loving it. Like, I love the experience. I love sharing it with people who are interested in listening to me, the weird guy playing Counter-Strike. Like, it's fun. Honestly, whatever is happening, I'm enjoying it.
And YouTube.
And YouTube also. The content side is important. I'm just trying to do my best and share my little bit of knowledge. I've been around for a couple of years, and I feel like people that are young and inspiring players, they should deserve better when it comes to content from Counter-Strike, and if they want to become pro players eventually, because there's not much out there.
I watched your keyboard reviews. I was watching that, and as I was watching that, you messaged me back. So I was like, big STYKO and then small STYKO notification on top. It was kind of funny, but you did give a pretty nice review of the SteelSeries latest keyboard with this like actuation and all these funny cool things. Kind of made me want to buy one, even though it's not going to help me yet. It's not.
Maybe I should switch to influencer if I influence it this easily.
Yeah, maybe. But hey, maybe we just hit up our sponsors and see how that works. But yeah, what's your future like? What do you want to do? How are you approaching this all this transfer stuff that's happening, and what kind of team would you like to find yourself on?
Yeah, so I'm patiently waiting for the opportunity to come. Also, I'm individually playing every day. I'm just waiting how it all settles down. I'm obviously not a priority for a lot of teams, but also at the same time, I feel like I can improve a lot of teams, and the people should realize it, could realize it, will realize it eventually. I'm down to talk at the very least, and you get to know me. What can I bring to the team? I'm down to put my heart out on the server because CS2 is out. I love the game, and CS2 major is approaching, which is my top goal. Get to the major.
Yeah, that's great. I have to say I was pretty distracted by seeing Chad.
I'm awake now. Sorry, guys. I'm awake.
Just this, yeah. You look like you have just awakened at 3 a.m., which is actually correct. How do you feel?
I feel that I fucked up the time zones, even though I knew it was 7 hours for the last couple of days. I don't know how I thought. I don't know. I fucked up. I apologize, STYKO. I wasn't here on time. This is not professional of me. I should have been awake at 2:30 a.m., not 3:30 a.m. So I'm here now. Have I missed? Has someone got cliff notes for me? Is there like a cheat sheet? Is there a way that I can catch up here?
I think we kind of finished the hot seat, so you don't really need to catch up with much. He was hyping up Shush, so we're going to touch on that later when we talk about like the transfers and Astralis and stuff like that. That's I have that noted down.
Okay.
But other than that, we're pretty good. We're going into Nerves of Steel, and then we're going to talk about like the G2, your favorite topic.
Oh, it's great. So I can coast here for a little while. I could just chill. I can. I can. You can steer the ship.
Do you
It's
need
nerves
like
of
a
steel.
coffee or something?
Mate, right now I'm just hoping I didn't make too much noise grabbing the chair to wake my parents up because I'm still. I don't. People can't really see the room I'm in right now. This is my old room that's been converted.
I was
It's
just gonna
kinda
say
fucked.
this is like the most Australian thing ever. There's like a Sydney Underground jersey in the back. There's a koala. There's like a what is it called? Like the fishing chair type thing. Like that's just
The camping chair.
yeah,
Yeah.
like camping chair. There's like I've never seen anything more Australian. You're just missing it. There's a kangaroo somewhere.
In this room, no. This is my old bedroom that is now my sister's kids when they come over from Melbourne. Fucking everything, high chair, fucking toys. It's nonsense in this room. So, yeah, anyway, we're here. Prof, do the fucking Nerves of Steel. I'm
Let's
gonna
do
change
it.
my flight. I'm not gonna fly back anytime soon. Hold on, we're gonna do that as well. All right, let's go.
We're just living in Australia now.
Yeah, fuck it.
let's jump into Nerve of Steel and then we can ask a few questions and I can explain the concept. So this is Nerves of Steel by SteelSeries. Essentially, we have 6 questions, but it's not yes or no correct answers. These are just questions about you, your career, things you think. And the goal is for you to convince us that you're not bullshitting us, that you're giving us like a, honest answer. Some maybe a bit more spicy than others. I don't think today we have anything too spicy prepared. It was prepared by Dimitri. And then if you answer all of them and we're happy, we give away a nice SteelSeries headset, which is pretty cool. It's wireless. You can walk around the house. You can do the dishes while waiting for the lads to assemble to play some Counter-Strike. It's really nice. You can go to the bathroom. You can take a piss. You can
Have
joke
the mic
around.
open while you do that.
Oh, exactly. Yeah, you have to impress everyone with like how loud it is and all of this. You know how it goes.
Dude,
But,
look how good his room looks, Prof. Are you checking this out? Are you looking at the skateboard decks and he's got a place for his
do you not
shoes
watch
and
his
shit?
content, bro? Like I saw this room so many times.
Well, look, I haven't been awake at this time of the morning to really take notice of it. He's got backlighting over there on the little tabletop.
Mhm.
Jesus,
That's what happens when you
Christmas.
switch to content creation. You have to.
Yeah, okay. You
Yeah,
got
he
more
was just-
time on your hands, mate.
He was saying earlier, that he has no chill. Like he can't just like lie around and do nothing, So he just spent his days organizing his room.
I saw you up like ready to go to the gym and shit like first thing in the morning. It's, Stiko's a productive lad. We also need to remind people to type SteelSeries in chat, Prof, if they want to go into the draw
That's
to win
why-
the
that's why
headset. Thanks
you're
to
the
our lovely
host.
sponsor. In
That's why you're the
conjunction with them,
host.
we can bring everybody these lovely little competitions. There we go.
That's why you're the host. I was completely not ready, but we're doing it. Let's start with question number 1. I surprised Lucas. What teammate did you enjoy playing with the most over the years?
God damn, no, this is already starting to hurt. All right. I would say it was.
We never played together, right?
No, we didn't. It was very close on multiple occasions.
Yeah,
but
it's true.
I'm glad I never had to deal with it. Oh, no.
Bro,
no.
1.30
STYKO, man.
rating. What are you talking
Yeah.
about? STYKO is the GOAT.
Okay, this might be a little bit biased because we've been together for such a short period of time, and it was the same answer to the best teammate I've had over the years, and I was calling always for Automatic from Cloud9
Well,
for very simple reason. He really inspired me after that mouse stint when I tried to transition into more active roles and everything, to really understand how it is to help the team, how to be a really all-around player, how to not have a weakness. I seriously can't tell you a weakness of Automatic. And he was such a cool dude. He was always a good player. He was very inspiring, very hardworking. If you give me all my teammates that I've played with, I can give you a little bit of a weakness here and there. But for the time being, I was in Cloud9 and I was living with him almost under the same roof, right? So I couldn't tell you. And maybe it's because I didn't know him that well in 2 months, but I honestly believe that the guy was one of the best teammates I've ever had, and I enjoyed every second.
I mean, I think
One of my favorite rosters of all time there, that one.
that was Cloud9 had a quite a few crazy rosters over the years. I don't think that one was your favorite. The favorite one was the one with Kiyoshima and Flusha, no? That's the one you were sleeping on. That was the pillow version of Cloud9.
Yep. Wasn't that a great team?
Yeah, I think that's a great answer. Like kind of out of the ordinary. I would not expect it, but when you say it, it does make sense. I think Automatic generally is pretty praised as a teammate. You happy with that one, Striker?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Let's go number 2.
Yeah.
Considering the state of the Czechoslovakian scene, do you see yourself in a local project in the foreseeable future?
Well, I got some offers, but the thing is, I honestly think Czechoslovakian scene improved a lot lately. I don't know what the reason is. Maybe there's professional teams coming in, Sinners paved the wave, then Eklot came in and s1mple and all the other investors. People started playing Face It on much serious level. So individuals came through to FPL. And I honestly think that it's going correct direction. If I see myself in a local project, yes, but as a player, no. In a way, I'm open to advise anyone within Czechoslovakian scene on sharing my experiences that I've learned over the years in very mismanaged teams, in very well-managed teams, in a big brands around Europe. I'm ready to share it, honestly. Like, there's nothing holding me back. All you have to do is ask. But right now, as a priority, as a player, I would have to get into the major of CS2. Right now, I'm lacking the team, and I don't feel like any Czechoslovakian team right now has what it takes to be a part of the next CS2 major. I'm gonna be glad if I'm wrong, but this is how I feel right now.
If Sinners couldn't do it at their peak, then at the moment there's nobody better than they were at the time. So I think you're right. Yeah,
I think so. And also integration of some international players coming into Czechoslovakia, such as Anarches and you know, Entropic. Entropic had this brief period where they had the international roster. So I think it's helping. It's helping develop us. But as I said, player for me, I don't think so.
Okay, let's go to the next question. Today, Apeks played against Sinners at the ESL Challenger League. Who did you want to win?
Apeks. I was watching the game. I was cheering for them. It was 11-4 on third map for Apeks, 11-3. I started streaming because I thought it's over. Midway through my stream, I looked at HLTV, it's 12-12. And I was like, what is happening, Apeks? Please close this one out. And as soon as I said it, they obviously closed it out in overtime. But it was... I was watching like a couple of, you know, like 1.5 maps. I was cheering for Apeks, not because I hate Sinners or anything. It's just, I'm still contracted by Apeks. It would be so bad for, you know, conflict of interest right here.
Okay. I mean, pretty straightforward. Question number 4.
Dude, they lost 13-1 on the second map.
Yeah.
What the fuck? I'm just catching up on the news. Sorry, guys.
And it's their map pick Inferno as well.
Yeah, okay. Well, that happened.
Fucking sucks. What do you recall as the best period of your career?
I'm gonna still say that Mouse Sports period was by far the most successful one. When I was, you know, with Oscar and Chris J, Sonny Robs, we were together. I was just recently checking my history, and we were together only for 10 months. It felt like we were together for 2 years. I thought I was much longer on Mouse roster, but 10 months. And in 10 months, we managed to, as you said, hit 12 consecutive playoffs of S-tier events. Plus, we get to the quarterfinals of Boston E-League Major. That was a peak back then. And I was generally living life, really, traveling every day, improving every day. It was just really enjoyable end of time.
I think that's maybe why, because at the time it was a lot of events on top of each other and stuff like that, so you had a lot to play. So I'm sure it felt like a much longer time.
I can't believe that's 10 months. How?
I was benched after 10 months, I feel like.
I have to look at this up. This
I hope crazy. I'm not kidding right now.
I don't think you are, because
I joined
August
September.
August
August, yeah.
2017 to June 2018. So
Yeah, but
plus
June is
minus.
already June was Cloud9 period. I was benched right after Belo Horizonte ESL,
Yeah.
which was in Brazil, and it was like it was a April May event, June event at the start of the June.
Yeah, give or take. Yeah, it's less than a year.
I guess though back then we were in that period where it was just event to
Crazy.
event to event to event. Though there was like a lot more. This was when we wouldn't even. There wasn't weeks off. You'd leave an event on Sunday on the first thing Monday, and then you'd start the event on like the Wednesday, right? So
you go to
feels like
Katowice, then straight to Kiev for a Star Series. Then from there you go to a third event, and then you have like 3 weeks of Pro League online or something.
Yeah, there were a lot of events which lasted 4 days as well. So all these dream hacks in Jönköping, for example, or DreamHack Atlanta, I remember we attended those. You come in and Thursday you play, Friday you play, Saturday you play, Sunday maybe final, Monday you fly home. Right now that would be stretched to like 10-day event.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, moving to the fifth question. Have you at any point considered changing your role from a player to anything else?
Anything else is very vague, but I would assume there's something like a coaching role. Let's do it. Let's
Could be
assume
like
it's
a
a coach.
content also a role or whatever. I don't know.
Analyst, whatever.
Okay, so for coaching, I would say definitely not. I told to myself, if I ever stop playing Counter-Strike, it's going to be because of the amount of stress it puts you in, amount of time it takes, and overall, when you switch to a coaching role, you don't really get away from these things. You're still stressed. You have to have different kind of skills to manage a team or coach a team, be a connection between an organization and a team, all this kind of stuff. I don't think I'm good at it. I was IGL for a brief period and I could get a taste of how it is to have these kind of skills. I think it's incredibly difficult and I value anyone who have tried it. Chad, you involved.
Oh, thank you.
And
compliments first thing in the morning. Look at that.
That's why I think coaching is off the cards. Analyst, I would say very much the same. I think I have good analytical mind, even from all the way like back when I was in school. I enjoyed it. I'm a little bit of a nerd, but it's not something that I personally enjoy doing on day-to-day basis. Doing overnights just to prepare a team that is playing first thing in the morning against some team. Like all these kind of things are not very like lining up with my values. And content creation, I haven't really thought about it to switch to it full time. I know there's this opportunity for me, which is extremely valuable, that I am or was very recently a professional player. And a lot of players right now, they want to become better, even the casual ones. But I don't know what would my target audience even be. I don't know if I want to help and reach the wide audience of casual players and help them become better, or I want to narrow down to specific players that are almost like semi-pro level. They want to make it pro, but there's very niche amount of people that would enjoy that. So it's a very slippery slope when you want to create content in Counter-Strike, because you have to be able to please a wider audience in order to stay relevant. But if you want to reach wider audience, you don't need the knowledge that I have. You can play Counter-Strike 2 hours per week and you have enough knowledge that you can share it with the rest.
I mean, if Pimp can do it, then...
I'm not gonna comment on that one. I don't watch Pimp that much, so...
I don't watch him either, but I'd love to throw some jabs.
No, but it is a hard thing that and you bang on, because you can do the stuff that's true to you. I think the only thing that I would say is, because we're not in it right now, and we'll probably talk about this a little bit later in the news, but once things get settled with CS2, there will be an influx of players and new players, and with things changing in 2025 as well, that's a good like on ramp for a lot of this stuff. So that gives you a while to think about things. But I think that if things go in the direction I'm assuming they will in the future, there might be a bigger audience for that in a couple of years. Maybe not right now, but in a couple of years.
What about in terms of like broadcast? I know we talked about that kind of on the side when you got benched. What do you think about that sort of prospect, or doing like Mahone weatherman? I could imagine doing that.
I'd love to try it. I don't know if I would be good at it, but honestly, that is a kind of different skill set that I would love to explore myself, because I need to communicate more. And when I was younger, I was very bad at communication, and Counter-Strike kind of really taught me how to talk to people, how to use words in order to, first of all, take attention of people, but at the same time convey my message in a very short and concise way. Okay, I wasn't able to string this very sentence that I just said like 2 years ago. It was impossible for me. I was so awkward on camera. But right now, it's one of the reasons I started YouTube. I was awkward on camera. So what am I going to do? I'm going to turn on camera and I will try. First 4 videos on my YouTube channel, you're going to puke. You don't watch them. Like, I puke myself. And the way it develops you really shows me the progress, and this is all I'm all about. Like, I really love and enjoy tangible progress and visible results, and I would love to try it. So good point on it. And also I would love to try individual coaching, so having a kind of narrow down clientele, or people that want to focus on something very specific, and I'm there anytime they want to do it. Even between the games, I can help them during the tournaments. It can be even pro player. Like, I think sharing these stuff with other pro players help you so much. I learned so much by even listening to podcasts and listening to other pro players sharing their thoughts. I don't necessarily need to agree with them, but I see their point of view, and it opens up my, dimension of thinking a little bit wider.
Yeah, I mean, just talking about the camera thing, my first on-camera appearance for HLTV was actually an interview with you, and it's so goddamn bad. It's so fucking awful, and people can still find it, still up there on YouTube. But then, 70,000 confirmed episodes later, and then I work a major, and I think I did it okay. Like, I didn't embarrass myself. So exposure therapy, as they call it, right?
I think the thing that you brought up though, through a lot of stuff through Counter-Strike is how people get to be themselves, right? It's the one thing that obviously all of us in this space have in common and that we like. And then when you're talking about it, it's second nature, and that's when the shoulders come back and the eyes are a bit brighter, because this is something that we just enjoy. People might think I'm a pretty outgoing guy. I'm an introvert pretending to be an extrovert half the time. I only learned being back here in Oz from some of the guys I used to play Counter-Strike with when I was a teenager. Like, how much of a different human I started to become playing the game all the time. And this is the key thing, I think, is we getting to share this and getting to do this is really fun. Like, this is really great that we get to do this, and it helps people become a version of themselves that they can be, proud of. And like that, just like Prof, look at him. Aren't we proud of him? He's got a little Snorlax in the background. He's working majors and shit. He's got a big smile on his face. It's everything great. Is that the end of the questions?
No,
there's one more, no?
We had one more. And then we can do the giveaway, and then we can do some recent news. When were you the most nervous in your CS career?
Oh,
I'm gonna keep this one really short. Any team talk, I'm very nervous, because I know it's gonna be most difficult. Like, part of the team for me is team talks, when we sit there in the circle, or one-on-ones with management or coach. Like, I'm very nervous because I don't know what's gonna.
Yeah,
the stakes are high. You don't know what is really going to happen. You don't know the topics that we're going to cover, and it might be serious. Like for example, this benching that I just was told, in Apeks. Like, I was very nervous before the call, because I was about to bring up some stuff that I don't think are working well in the team, and I didn't even get to chance to speak, and I was told that, like, it's happening. Like, we're not going to renew the contract, and you're benched, etc., etc. Like, all these talks kind of give me a PTSD from back in the day when I was even in Hellraisers / Mouse Sports, and things were really mismanaged when we were benching people and changing people. That you go into the meeting, whenever someone calls you for a meeting, you're like, oh shit, what's going to happen now? My career is done now. And then you go into the meeting and it's like, how you feel? We just wanted to check up on you. And then everything falls away. But sometimes it's those serious talks, and it's not that pleasant. So in game, I'm not really nervous. Like, I don't feel it. If anything, I transfer the nervousness into, like, I'm excited. I want to feel this adrenaline. I'm going to play better right now. Okay. I'm in front of the audience. I'm in front of the 1,000 people on stream. It's going to be fun. Let's do it. But when you're in the talk with someone who's your boss, essentially, that's a little bit, nervous.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. That's a good answer. I imagine there's a lot of that going on right now with all these roster changes.
A lot of people,
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I wonder how professional it is on all the accounts. I would imagine still probably some of it being handled like back in the day. You know, it's
Backroom talks
not
and
a
stuff, you mean?
yeah, fucking not a fun time. All right, well that was the nerves of steel. Good stuff, STYKO. I got a question for it. Not on the list. I remember. I think you were. Did you used to take nootropics?
No.
No,
I don't think
must
so.
be confusing you with someone else.
The
Fucking hell.
tropics, I don't even know what it is.
Stuff for the brain. Because I'm interested in like if players, people say it's snake oil.
Oh,
Probably
didn't you
is,
take
you know?
the Czech brand thing?
yeah,
I forgot what it's
Mad
called.
Mad Monk? I did, but I'm not sure. It was just like a brief period of time. I did, and it was all right. Like I'm a guy that doesn't drink coffee, for example, and sometimes you just need to get the caffeine into you. And I'm kind of bored of drinking tea all the time. So I was kind of experimenting with the ways to get that into my body, and that was it. But I don't think I've.
You don't drink coffee?
No, I don't drink coffee. No. I can't. I the taste of it, the smell.
Sacrilege,
bro.
Yeah.
That's the best thing.
Yeah,
we
maybe
didn't
I will
think to ask
grow
that
into
question.
it. Maybe I'll
That's
grow
great.
into it.
No, I mean
Jesus.
it's fine.
You don't have to, man. Like it's the biggest addiction of the world, probably. So
Honestly, like I'm not big on caffeine, but I love the smell and taste of like a nice coffee. It's the best thing ever. So I recently just been on like fucking Nespresso pod decafs. Insane. Because actually,
what's the
like,
point?
the point is the taste is
Just
amazing.
the taste.
The taste is amazing, and there's something about like how my brain interprets having coffee as like it's time to focus and do stuff. So like that's kind of how I approached
So
it
it's
before.
placebo, essentially. Yeah.
Yes, essentially, because like your brain starts releasing like chemicals based on how to say like patterns, essentially. And the patterns, I have coffee, there's a smell of coffee, there's a taste of coffee, so my brain is like, okay, now I can focus a bit more.
That was nerves of steel. We have our winner. Lucas was just searching for him in the chat. It was Joshus, Joshos, and then a capital GTR. Either a fan of cars or Get Right. I'm not sure which one. We'll go with Get Right because he's in a Counter-Strike podcast right now. So Joshus, Get Right, obviously, he has a shrine in his house. He loves it. He loves Get Right. He watches the stream all the time. Congratulations. You're the winner of the headset. Our people will reach out to your people, and we'll make it all happen. That was the nerves of steel. Lucas, are we live? Is it working? Is everything fine? Yeah.
Yeah. Just bring us the preview when you can, please. Thank you.
And
there we go.
now we think it's happening. All right, let's roll the bumper and get into the recent news, shall we? Okay, this is great because I went to bed at about, I don't know, 8 p.m. local time here in Perth. And now I've woken up and I see Mezii is joining Vitality. So we'll start probably at the top of the list and then we'll make our way down and then we can have a conversation to a bunch of all of this. And you guys can help me understand because I'll be honest, I understand why I don't live in Australia anymore. It makes a lot of sense. You can't fucking do anything here with the time zone. It was 6 hours to Europe, Central Europe, a couple of days ago. Then CST happened, or the lack thereof, which fucked me up. And then when I was in Sydney, that's 9 hours. So I guess it's 10 hours now. And it's just it just fucked. Like
Pretty
trying to
rough.
watch the matches. It's late at night. I don't even you fucking playing. Well, who knows about that? I don't have a computer here. Regardless, let's get into it. We got the VoxPop. What's the question, Prof? He said it's about G2.
The question is about G2, and I will read it to you in 1 to 5 seconds. Okay, so this is a question. What do you think is likely to happen with G2? And we had 4 answers. It was a complete rebuild, mezii and NiKo out, only NiKo leaving, or staying the same. These were the options that we had. And people are leaning towards everything staying the same, actually. People believe that this G2 lineup is staying the same. It was just
how does anybody believe
Why
that
would they
after the
believe
past few
that?
weeks?
I don't
This
know.
is rigged.
I don't know. I can tell
Is
you
this
how
like
many.
a delusion that they have that's a hope? They hope that the
I'd
roster
say this
stays
is
together.
wishful thinking. Yeah.
It has been 748 votes.
Okay. We
okay.
tapped into some weird fucking demographic, man. I don't know who was following who was not following the scene out of those people.
Maybe it's because there's that one clip of you saying that NiKo is not signed yet, and then people
Right,
just
right.
understood that like nothing's gonna happen. But you think something's gonna happen, Milan?
I'm like, there's
just a
every
matter of when.
there's every indication essentially.
Yeah. And of multiple things potentially happening. And then you've also got to think about this. Imagine, you know, your teammates, they're out shopping to go somewhere else. And then they just go, oh, nah, we'll just come back. I didn't get the money I was looking for. I didn't get the offer. It's fine, right, guys? I wasn't going to leave you. We weren't going to leave you behind. We weren't going to just fucking dog the boys and go somewhere. It's a fucking team, right? Oh, yeah. Well, there has to be a little bit of trust in there. Let's just betray all of that and then go back and just be teammates again, shall we? And pretend like nothing happened. Yeah, that's cool. That'll work. That's fine. That's going to function. What are people fucking delusional? What are we talking about here? I'd be pissed off as all hell, man. Go somewhere else. Get the fuck out of here.
Maybe you're just being very, emotional about this. Now you're professional. This is like Counter-Strike now. People explore options. It's just a business. There's nothing more about it, right?
No, there's no bench. There's five guys, and they're your brothers, and you go to war, and you achieve different shit together. And these are the people that you need to be able to trust. Because if you don't trust them and you can't look at them, then you're not going to win. You're not going to win. How are you going to win? How is that going to work? I know you got to be professionals and stuff, but you're never going to be the top tier elite teams. This is the difference. You got to have that. You got to have that together. You don't have that. You're faking it. No, how are you going to fake a professional Counter-Strike team? How's that going to STYKO? Can it work? Am I overselling this? Do you think it can work if there's a couple of knives in the back?
There's like very weird two variables here, and that is NiKo and Hunter being cousins, actual like family. Like, what do you do? Like, do you value something this over potential split up, or are you gonna stick together until the end of career or whatever? And then yesterday, this is conspiracy time, but yesterday I saw that NiKo
got engaged,
and I was like, this is like time where it clearly feels for him like he's ready to move on to like different chapter of the life. Is it going to be paired up with a career as well? Like, am I going to go to Falcons, for example, to settle down or something? I don't know what their goal will be. Maybe they will want to be the best team in the world, but maybe they will be okay with just being in the scene. And it's kind of I'm just conspirating,
but not very good.
the timing of everything, like NiKo splitting with Hunter, and then the Instagram post that I saw, like, it's you can conspirate here.
Yeah, I was actually I saw that he was in the Maldives or something. He's like been posting Instagram stuff with his now fiance, I guess. And I was like, okay, like this was even before them pulling out of CAC was announced. So I'm like, I mean, this is basically that's very obvious what's happening here, But then he announces that he gets engaged, and I'm like, well, that actually throws a spanner in all the conspiracy, But like, I'm sure this was in plans for a time.
First of all, congratulations to him. That's course. What I want to say.
I don't know. It's interesting to even consider this change as a real change. Like especially if it's not like a NiKo and mezii deal going to Falcons together. I feel like it's weird to leave mezii behind, and no matter who you are, whatever player you are. I think just he is such a talent, and in the little that we saw in CS2, there's no reason to think that he isn't like going to be a top 5 player for the next 10 years, essentially. So voluntarily moving away from him, I feel like is not the best idea, regardless of who the other players are on the lineup. I just think that, but it always has to come down to money, and not just money in terms of like salary, but also like if G2 can't invest into anything else, then just a matter of time before mezii is going to end up somewhere else, right? And maybe he gets sold in like 6 months or a year. So why are you tying yourself to an org if the future of the org is not really convincing? That's where I think the whole key about this NiKo thing lies, even though like this is complete speculation, not based on anything that I talk to people, but I'm just trying to understand what the motivations would be for such a move. And then with where it looks to be going for Falcons, I think it's a mid to long term plan to have like a fucking sick lineup and to win a major, versus having what they have now in G2, which is okay, and realistically, they won the 2 biggest events. They won Katowice, they won Cologne. That is great, but obviously the belief in the future is not there. And I just think, I don't know, it does come down to like, literally, who do you want to replace on that lineup? There's literally one person that you'd want to replace, and that's HooXi, for someone that's like elite tier IGL. Otherwise, the lineup is fucking sick. Like, there's no problem with G2, right?
The only problem is the age, right?
Yeah,
The only problem is
quite
the
old
age.
now.
That's the issue. m0NESY is the only young player on that team. JKS, HooXi, Hunter, and NiKo. Well, NiKo is a superstar.
Like 26 to 28, yeah.
Yeah, so the other 3 of them in that conversation. And I think the fact that they are cousins probably played into it for a little while, but as you just said, Prof, they've won some stuff together, so it's not like they haven't achieved. Like, how long and what was the goal? Was the goal to like play out into the sunset together and finish their career and both, you know, retire together? Or was the goal to play together for a period of time, win some tournaments? That's what they did. So letting that go. I know family's a big thing in that part of the world, but still, it's probably easier now. If you hadn't won anything, and you're probably still trying to hold on to that, then sure. Yeah. The m0NESY angle is interesting. I think an interesting angle for all of this, though, is if these players are looking to go elsewhere, because we've seen interest or we've heard interest, like the m0NESY Cloud9 thing, or there's all the different things that come through. Yeah, if these things are the case and these players find themselves in a position where they don't want to be on the team, isn't it just really common to see players just bench themselves and just be like, well, okay, fuck you then. It's like, well, you don't want to sell me, you don't want to let me go. Because in the interview with Petsa, see, I say it right now.
I was just going to say that.
Yeah, he was saying that they're not selling him. So, okay, if he's obviously worth.
He said that at any price as well. It's like he's clearly locked into a contract that would be like ridiculous money, you know, to get him out of it.
Yeah. Well, that maybe a little bit that is, you know, to see who come with the bags. And there's probably only the Falcons are probably the only ones who could afford the type of money we're probably talking about with a kid like m0NESY. But
I'm not sure, you know, like I've been hearing this a lot, and we've been hearing about like how much bag Falcons have and how much they have to throw around. But to be fair, like from everything I've heard behind the scenes, they're not willing to like spend insane amounts on like just buyouts alone, you know, maybe like on longer term deals, you know, with like key players and stuff like that. You obviously see the Zonic, like some of the rumors flying around Zonic and his, like, you know, we had Kirill here the last time, and he was talking about like some of these bonuses that he could activate and stuff like that could getting up to pretty really good salary, you know, for a coach especially, you know. But from everything that we've heard, like massive buyouts on players aren't necessarily happening. Magisk is like at the end of his contract, you know. NiKo was somewhere, even though he wasn't like towards the end of his contract, there was like talks that he got like offered a salary cut, you know, and that's kind of like why he decided to start looking for other options. And I mean, I heard that from enough people that like that is very plausible to me, and all that stuff, you know. So there's I don't think, you know, the whole rumor about Falcons just being this as deep pocketed as people think is necessarily so true. Obviously, they have some money to spend. Like if you can get Zonic and get him convinced enough that they can build a really competitive project, they have to have some money, you know. But maybe it's not like some crazy amount that they have like 20 million to spend just on this roster.
No,
you know?
I don't imagine they're going to go, here you go, NiKo, have $100,000 a month or something like that, right?
Yeah.
But in the sense of when they do form this roster and they have their 5, I imagine everybody on the team would be well paid. I don't think it'll be a team where there's such a big disparity, because you look at some of these teams. I'm sure G2 right now, well, we know the tippy top of that totem pole is going to be NiKo, and at the bottom of it is probably going to be, you know, m0NESY. Well, maybe not m0NESY because he's got that more star potential, but HooXi, right, would probably be getting paid the least in that team, I would imagine, if I had to guess, right? Whereas back in our day, fucking when there wasn't a lot of money, you'd fight to get the same amount as your teammates, so that everybody. But that was 10 years ago. That's Burma Birchall fucking talking. Whereas these days, obviously, it's you get what you can for your value and what you bring to the team, which makes, you know, more sense for that side of things. But yeah, I don't know. I think that for G2 now, if we're going to look at this, they're not attending CAC. They pulled out of that. They're not in the full finals. The next event for them on paper would be the World Finals. And that is some time away. So we have a very open runway for this team to explore their options. They're not in the same rush. The only rush that they'd be feeling is other teams making moves because of like the Blast roster lock that was yesterday and the other events for these other teams that are going to constrict their options. The biggest thing for all of these teams is obviously the next major, because the game still is probably going to have, we'll talk about this a little bit later, you know, some more updates, which will maybe not change the status quo, but maybe slightly adjust how people are approaching the game. So it's not like, and I'm sure STYKO's probably already attested to this. It's not like there's a huge disparity at the moment between CS2 and CS:GO in terms of if you can click heads and you can, you're not making the mistakes just haven't changed, right? People still have the same approach to the game overall or in general. But yeah, that's. I don't know
what you know about this. I just wanted to talk about this Petsa statement and especially the response to it, because I feel like everybody's like every other comment that I saw about that was like, that's exactly the type of thing you would say just before you sell mezii, you know? And I'm like, are we living in the same world? Like, usually organizations are very careful about making any sort of straight up statements like this, exactly because it is very easy for it to backfire, you know? If an organization says this and this confidently, you know, unless it is some like super elaborate ruse, you know, like I just can't imagine a org like G2 going out and saying, okay, like just we're not going to sell mezii at any cost, basically. Like it just doesn't make any sense for us, you know. And then turn around and sell him a couple of weeks later. I mean, that's not happening, right?
But we're going into esports winter, right? Like everything's going to be a little bit tighter for a lot of these orgs next year. A lot of these companies are going to be firing people. That's what's going to be happening. That's the situation we're in. And if players are out there trying to get more money than what they're currently getting right now, unless it is something like the Falcons, then you're going to have a hard time to do that. That's not going to be an easy thing to pull off. These next couple of years are going to be a little bit like post 2008. That's when the CGS like died. The next couple of years, but lucky we have a great ecosystem. Lucky we have Valve, and we're not like an Overwatch League or something like that. We're going to be fine. But people are not going to be exponentially earning more and more money than they were like from year to year. That's not going to happen. And I think that's a reality check that some of these players are going to need. We've been very prosperous for a very long time, but that is going to stall momentarily. It doesn't mean that things are going to plunge and go into the dirt. It just means things are going to stall momentarily. And then after they've stalled for a little while, then we'll just go back to how we were. We'll either, plateau or we'll be climbing. These things happen. This is, that's just what happens. So,
I mean, it would also make sense for G2, because you could assume that at least 3 of them are very highly paid. I would say even 4 of them are very highly paid. If you consider like NiKo and Hunter, they also are kind of a package deal. They're going to be able to, they were even renegotiating together. They signed new contracts together in 2022, I want to say. It was like a year and something ago. And then there's mezii, who was obviously like one of the biggest prospects. It's hard to say how much money he got from the start. Maybe he's not on some like insane crazy salary, but you could probably imagine JKS is on a decent salary, so like overall the costs for that team are pretty massive. So it kind of makes sense if they were looking to sell off NiKo to get somebody, new into the team, like a rising star. Like imagine, I'm not saying that this is actually something that could happen,
cash,
but like a donk, you can get, and like if he doesn't cost like some crazy money, which he would probably, but you can get like an up and coming star like that instead of NiKo. Suddenly your costs lower, and if you can even manage to sell NiKo on top of that for like a few $100,000, suddenly that like balances your finances a lot at a time. That's obvious, where obviously a lot of teams are looking at the checkbook and how much they are allowed to spend. So like I just think this all plays a factor, and that's kind of why we're seeing a kind of like this amount of crazy moves at a time that is probably the least predictable in CS that has been in a very long time, just because of the switch to CS2. Just a lot of it is just down to financial reasons, like even the Twist situation, he's obviously considering options also because of all this stuff that's flying around FaZe, them being bought out by the same company as Complexity, and all that stuff. Like all of this just cascades into kind of financial reasons,
Crazy roster moves as well.
Yeah.
Can you just tell people in chat that donk isn't actually going to G2 because
no. I mean, I was just throwing out names just because like he's the biggest name that people would probably now look at. I would imagine Spirit had some emails, going their way. I don't know. I haven't talked to them, so I can't really say. But just you can imagine a player like that who has so much hype around him, especially now that there's been the switch and he's been still doing that well as before and just like putting up crazy numbers, that you can imagine that guy had a few calls.
STYKO made 6 videos on donk in the last week, so
free content.
And the guy's crazy. Like, he's so good. It is so good for them.
Tell us a bit. Tell us
about donk. So first of all, he is after a long time finally a hot prospect that is young, that isn't an oper coming from CIS region. that plays a big role. Obviously, the way he plays is very, very mature for his age, very methodical. I would assume what Chopper and presumably Magix as well in Team Spirit is doing to these youngsters, Arthros, Zontix, and Donk. It's clear that they have certain vision, and these three young players are following it. They're just on the same page, how they want to play certain situations, the decision making, individual decision making. Like you can see it in all three young players. It's somewhat similar. It's just Donk has this ability to just carry the games because of how individually skilled he is and how much freedom he gets on the map, on his positions. So I would say that he's going to be upgraded to a lot of teams, and even now, even at 16 years old, I think he's still 16. So I think even at this time, he will be an upgrade to a lot of even top 10 teams. G2, it's going to be hard for you to replace NiKo, but I don't think hypothetically it would be a bad deal for G2 looking at the long term, because again, you get kind of second mezii just in a different role, which is like a gold mine.
Yeah.
I think the thing, just to get back to this G2 point holistically for a moment, is if NiKo is to be replaced, right, or is to leave and they have to replace him, I feel that you would want to make more than one change in that case, right? You would want to replace a JK, so you'd want to replace a HooXi to bring in, like, to either help mitigate what you've just lost there with NiKo, because you're not going to find a player as complete as him, right? That's not going to be the case. So do you need a new approach? Do you need someone else who's going to be a bit more aggressive with the firepower stuff, and then you transition HooXi into more of a passive in-game leader role, and Hunter obviously is already doing, in between that type of stuff at the moment.
I mean, you can imagine that Hunter could slot into kind of NiKo, right? Because that was the problem in G2 in the first place. When NiKo came in, is like, how do we fit both of these guys in the same team? They were playing in a very similar way. They both like to do the same things. I mean, you can see how they're playing in like late situations all the time. They both, they basically do the same thing, just on opposite sides of the map a lot of the time,
I guess it just depends on what the org is looking for, in the sense of, are we just going to keep trying to win as of now? Which I guess with an org of G2 you are, right? You should always be trying to be a top 5 team in the world with an organization.
I mean,
like
they're
that.
literally the number 1 team on the HLTV ranking. Obviously, it's more like an interim number 1. It's not like anybody can say like, okay, G2 is the number 1 team at the moment, like based on their results, But like that's always been an organization that's been shooting high, and I don't think that changes that.
No, so that I think that's, and I guess they're fortunate they can take a little bit longer with this decision making and don't have to pull the trigger just yet. Okay, should we keep it moving? Should we jump into? Okay, so as I mentioned, I went to bed. I saw KRL's tweet saying they have a 5th, and at some point it'll be announced today. But mezii for Vitality, obviously in place of Magisk. This is, I think, a great move for mezii. I think fantastic for mezii to find himself in that position. Also, would be great as a added voice to the team to replace Magisk because of his in-game leadership he had with Fnatic, and he's clearly the type of guy who will do whatever is necessary to add what the team needs. So I think that it's a great little find for Vitality. But I wonder, like, Fnatic find themselves now in a rough spot, because that's one of their key pieces. But for Vitality, STYKO, we'll go to you first. Obviously, it's hard to replace a multi-major winner. No, not just a multi-major winner, 4-time Mr. Magisk. But you add mezii in. How do you feel about that? How much of a plug and play do you think that'll be?
I honestly like the change if I look at the player for player. I think mezii is insanely capable. I think he's been through a lot considering his career. He's tried different roles. I'm not sure how the role right now will fit into Vitality's play, because I don't think mezii was really comfortable at anchoring in a way Magisk was on city sides. There could be some clash roles there. I'm thinking about if mezii is actually going to be part of this team long term, there might be multiple role changes coming in, and some different players will step in for Magisk role, and then mezii will take their spot. I'm thinking a nuke like ramp player to Magisk to me is someone that is really good at ramp, but I don't think if mezii slots in, I think he will be more impactful elsewhere, where he's more active and more, running around the map, making the calls, making the reads, helping Apeks with everything. organizing, utilizing what he learned in Fnatic while he was IGLing them, and so on. So I would see even SPUNJ or Flames going into more anchor-ish roles.
I don't know about
I was
Flames
gonna-
because he's a bit hyper, but I think SPUNJ could be a decent, like, kind of overqualified anchor for sure.
Isn't
That's the thing, right?
Flames anchoring A side on Nuke? I feel like
with SPUNJ,
would
so
be-
yeah, those two it's holding A together.
that would be like, I would see mezii being this static guy, maybe in main, maybe SPUNJ being this A player, while Flames is moved to ramp, because there you can be a little bit more moving part of the defense since you rotate to B side. Like, I'm talking about
Starting
one role,
secret, yeah.
yeah. Or I'm talking about one map and one role. I'm pretty sure there's going to be a lot of clashes if mezii comes in, but I love the addition.
Well, Mirage would be an example where he could just play A though, right? Because I think they have Flames holding B, SPUNJ.
That's a great, yeah.
Yeah, SPUNJ short because Apeks is playing connector, and then
Yes.
ZywOo obviously floating around everywhere. So that like mezii could do that. I think
slots in well.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like I with mezii as the type of player he is, obviously there'll be an adjustment period to this. I was just reading the article now, Prof. Have I missed any cliff notes here? So it's not an official thing, but
Not yet,
he's on the
but
roster.
He was submitted for full final, and from sources we got, it's very clear that there are talks happening. It seems that it's very close to being finalized. I don't know about KRL's, like how confident KRL was about that it's being finalized and announced. Like, I'm sure that this is the move that he was referring to, but it seems like it's maybe not 100% final yet, at least.
Okay. I'm just looking at some of this stuff. So obviously we know about the Boomage situation over there at Cloud9. Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
Wonderful
the biggest takeaways from that would be Zyphon on Heroic, kind of rounding out the full final team. That's kind of like a temporary deal from Sprout to Heroic to round it out, and obviously announced that cadiaN would be standing in for full final as like a last dance appearance. So that would be kind of their team for that. The Alex to NIP move that we reported on yesterday is already confirmed in that, basically in the rosters that they submitted for full final. Alex is on that one. Boomage is in Cloud9's, and then I would say the next big one would be that Twist is still with FaZe.
Yeah.
And my understanding is that just Twist will like play out however long he needs to with FaZe before he moves to Liquid, who don't have anything happening until basically like early next year or something like that, like blast groups or something. So there's time, and obviously they don't even have the final
qualifiers. Is the first thing
I
that
don't
they're
know
playing.
I don't know if that's actually going to be the first thing that they will play, though. I don't know how much the changes, like, I don't know how it works out with the changes at the moment, but it's obviously they're still working out the final pieces. They don't have everything together as far as I know. So Liquid are in no rush to have Twists like ready to play for them. So I think that's why he's still playing out some events with FaZe until FaZe can find a replacement for him.
I think it's weird, the situation we find ourselves in now. A bit like time is frozen right now because people are still playing and competing. And you look at Roobet and you look at Thunderpick, and it's like fucking 250k first place for Thunderpick and 150 first for Roobet. It's fucking insane, the amount of money. Like Sydney just happened. I think overall the entire prize money was 250k. So right now there's tournaments on that have value and people can make some money from, but the teams in them that are the best wouldn't, be considered anywhere near the best teams in the world. But that whole shift may be happening right in front of our eyes now, because I made some tweets about this the other day, but the sense that all these other teams are fucking around trying to get their rosters together, there's probably not a high amount of motivation other than the new game and learning the new gimmicks and what can we get away with and how's the best way to maximize using the new smokes and everything. And obviously abusing the way the mechanics work, some of them at the moment. But other than that, in terms of being invested in tier 1 CS and top teams and who's going to be the top dog at the end of all of this, we're in a long runway, because we're not in a position where things are going to be locked down anytime soon. Obviously,
like unless one team, unless one team like just dominates the rest of the year, I don't think there's much we can learn from like the events that we have left, exactly because of how unstable it is at the moment and how even FaZe, who won the first tier 1 event in CS2, they're literally not even playing out into the next year with the same roster, So I think it's a very weird time for sure.
What's wrong with me saying time is frozen? Why is this cunt fucking critiquing that? What
Frozen to FaZe confirmed.
What's wrong with that? Why's that? Why's that matter? I'm up for fucking four.
I wanna
What is wrong with
say,
people, man? I fucking hate people. That's what I'm
bro,
learning being in Australia. Just fucking hate people. Not Australian people, just everyone else. Sorry, guys.
That's why you have an island all to yourself.
Yeah.
I mean,
What
you're
am I?
saying that there's not much to be learned, but at the same time, Monty is in the fucking final of Roobet, and they're in the playoffs of Thunderpick as well. I feel like some of these teams that are kind of slept on might get like so much momentum that is going to be hard to stop them.
Right.
You know, these teams, you know, the Liquids and the Phase of the world, we can take all of our time. Like, can you take your time? I'm not really sure. Like, obviously the game's going to change, which is going to reset that. Like, let's say in theory, let's just imagine that Monty is currently the best team in the world. Let's just imagine, which is plausible in some way, that they are the best team in the world. But there's going to be a lot of radical changes and updates to the game that are kind of going to reset them all the time. But I still think a team like this that is going to grind so much officials, and they're going to go to some lands. I don't know if they have what they have coming up, but they're certainly going to be qualifying or play a Lisa or something like this until
They're
the
playing
end
on
of the year.
shipping, but they're on shipping in Atlanta. They're playing, but I don't think other than that they're qualified for anything at the moment.
Whatever. I'm just saying, like, some of these teams will get a lot more experience than other teams that are fucking around with transfers and not really, you know, grinding and talking, having team talks and having dry runs and having like theory crafts all the time and just having a stable lineup. So I think that's going to be an interesting thing that we won't know until we know, but there is going to be at least one team that's going to like break through like this. Could be Spirit, for example. I don't know.
I just saw there was a bunch of applications for writers, and I saw a guy, one of them did a video about how Virtus Pro are going to be the next major winners. Honestly, at this point, who the fuck knows? Why not? Right?
Could be Aurora. Right?
Yeah.
What are we talking about right now? Like anything seems like it's possible at this moment, because things are so unstable. Things are so all over the place. I thought we had just had our roster mania in the middle of the year, but I guess everyone was waiting to really get started. So,
but we were also talking about, like, at the time. I said this last time. You know, at the time we were also talking about how in the lead up to the end of the year we will see a second wave, just exactly because a lot of these teams will realize, okay, maybe the changes we made aren't working and stuff like that. Or there's going to be some of the teams that haven't changed, you know, that just have the delayed effect. And this is kind of what we're saying. But a lot of it is also because of outside factors, you know, as I was saying earlier.
Okay. Let's talk about this other one, which was a bit interesting. Alex to NIP as an in-game leader. I look at this one and I think, oh, okay, that's another from left field. That's one that I didn't see happening. And then I just sit there and I'm sad for Spanish Counter-Strike because they lost the Pius. Now they lose Mr. Alex, the in-game leader. And I first reflect for Movistar before I really think about NIP, because that's just been such a shit show for the longest period of time. And no offense to Alex, I don't know if this is going to save NIP. Is there any initial thoughts on this one from the room? Is there any mild, lukewarm, hot, cold takes? Is anyone think this is a good change?
I just hope they get some young, exciting blood as a player, because otherwise this lineup is still so drained of all of the juices. It's so dry. It's insanely dry. Like, it needs an exciting semi-unknown player from obscure country. You know, we need one of these on this lineup, and then I can be excited about it. I think right now Alex can be whatever. He's not the best IGL in the world. He's not the worst, but I just don't think he has pieces that are great. Like Rez, we've seen so much of. We know what config is. Hetrick can be great. Can be like top 10 opper in the world, top 5 maybe in some theory in the future. But I just don't think they have like a star rifler that is consistent, that they can make this team be anything other than like another top 20 team in the world with like 5 international players that have like barely any cultural relevance or chemistry or anything. They just exist, you know, just like what Fnatic are now, especially if they lose mezii, then that's just like, whoa, okay, who the fuck cares about this team and why would I be invested, right?
I think it is a good step like it is a step in the right direction in the way that like we've been talking about the clashes and NIP and all that stuff for forever, and this is at least like some way of solving that, along with getting S-Attack back into the roster, because I think they needed somebody more supportive like that, because it was just like 4 kind of aggressive guys trying to make it work together when it was pretty much impossible for the roles that they had. I think Alex is kind of an underrated signing, to be honest, because like the way Movistar played was pretty impressive, considering they didn't have the pieces to be so competitive. I mean, they had some bios, but everybody else was kind of up and down, and so a lot of it just came down to them working as a team. Outside of those big performances from some bios, and it's not like Martinez has not been a good replacement, but they've also still stayed competitive despite losing their best player. So there has to be a reason behind that, other than just like their biggest star helper, and stuff. So I think that's like, I think people are sleeping on this a little bit, but I do agree with Prof with his point for sure, because there's just like NIP have had a history, especially like when they didn't have the best pieces, of kind of punching above their weight when they had somebody good behind the roster. I think after Threat left, they made a couple of questionable decisions, with the player signings that they got, like Config, the latest of them. Obviously, that came kind of as a result of Hampus deciding to go on a break, but still, just like the last 2 or 3 roster moves that they made didn't really make so much sense. So now that Threat is back and he has a better overview of what's happening in the team and better understanding of Counter-Strike, I think that's still a good combination of moves that at least could make them more stable.
All right, let me throw this one your way, STYKO. With all this in mind and everything STYKO and Prof myself are saying, do you think that NIP should have just leveled the fucking project, or do you think they should have just kept Headtrick, or do you think they should have kept what they did and just add an extra player? What would you have done in this situation? Because this isn't impressing anybody right now.
So the answer kind of is in the question, because I feel like they're recycling a lot of players for the majority of this year and last year, right? They're just benching the same people, bringing in the same people, etc., etc. With this move, I think it kind of confirms and puts pressure on the rest of the team, because now they kind of confirms that they want to go international. Up until this point, this was this Scandinavian, NIP,
You're pretty Nordic,
Swedish, Swedish, Danish. They had Swedish coach. Now Threat comes in, obviously Swedish organization. Headtrick was the only piece that was like left outside. It kind of reminds me of like imports in NA when they imported one EU player.
Yeah.
But now they confirmed that we want to go international. This puts pressure on S-Stack, Config, and Res as well, because they haven't had too much success with NIP, but now they are, the pool that NIP can choose from when it comes to players or replacements just widens dramatically. And it might be a step in a good direction to embrace this international roster.
It's an old team as well. I was just looking. Like we've been talking about Res since Oakland 2017. Config and S-Attack, obviously, as well. They're they're past 25 now, right? What's the average age of this team? Oh, wait, it's not, because Alex isn't on there. It doesn't have the average age.
But they're like 25, 26, 27.
Alex is 27 as well. Yeah. But
there's
I
just want to mention this campus interview that just came out courtesy of dust2.se, the Swedish outlet. That just
more expansion now from the family. Yeah.
There we go. So the quote is, there were some players who did not respect my voice on the server. He talks about, he says, I felt like I had no power when I came back, couldn't really do the things that I wanted. You always have to compromise with the coach or the performance coach and so on. That's kind of funny. I feel like that's.
I bet Hampus probably didn't even want to go back to NIP. Remember, he just was like, "I'm back," and then NIP were like, "Oh shit, Hampus is back. Fuck, should we just bring him in here?" And he probably wanted to go somewhere else. I don't think he would have wanted. Like, let's be honest about vindication.
Honestly, I have to say, like, so the guy goes away, takes a break, comes back, plays like a month and a half, and then you bench him again. How the fuck does this happen?
No, because this is it. Just for us, Prof, you, me, and STYKO, we've been pretty critical of NIP over the last couple of years, right?
Yeah.
Vindication for us, because guess what? Every step along the way, it was just as shit, if not more. So I think we were fine. I think we were based in logic. We were based in the real world, because and I love the juxtaposition to Fnatic. Like, that comparison is fantastic. Like, that's the same thing. These were the legendary orgs at the start of the game. They were legendary orgs at different moments in the long 20+ history of Counter-Strike. And now they're just fucking dirt. Like they're there. Oh, we're bobbing our head above water, but no one thinks you're contending for a trophy. You're just making up the numbers. You're an elite level name.
The worst part about that is like NIP have marketed towards a way, or not marketed, but just positioned in a way where like we're here to win titles, and these moves that we're making to win titles, and that's like all we kept hearing over and over. And I appreciate that somebody actually says that for once, instead of just being kind of lukewarm about their expectations and not really putting themselves out there in terms of like what their goal is.
Someone wrote in chat, Nip went from 5th-man problem to 5-man problem.
Bloody hell.
That's
not bad.
14. That's a fucking banger and a half right there.
Yeah. Anyway, I mean, I made my point.
Yeah. What did you? I saw Glaive made, and I know Glaive hasn't done anything in recent history, but if he actually, this is the thing, you have to kind of take people at their word or do an interview with them and really see how they're at. But saying this, I'm paraphrasing, but people being motivated and ready to come back and take on the Counter-Strike world. Having a multi-major winning in-game leader as my in-game leader, and keeping Headtrick, who is, as Prof just said, he's a pretty good AWPer in the scheme of things. Those are two pieces that I could get behind and start with. And then adding on top of that, depending on where you want to go. And does it feel like NIP don't have the budget to do anything crazy? Because they obviously, like Alex, like I said, I'm not, not detracting from Alex. I think he's done a great job in the scene, and I know how difficult it is. And this is the same thing as like when Dexter went over to in-game lead internationally. This is a huge thing for a person from that scene, and I think he does a good job. It's just I don't think he's been given tools to be successful. Yeah. Have you looked at this on paper and gone, well, this is better than the team I have right now? Probably gone, I have more opportunities with this team than I would otherwise. But those opportunities are going to disappear at the end of 2024. Those opportunities are going to be all fucking gone.
I mean, there were talks that they practiced together with Glaive, so this is not like the first time that we've been hearing about the potential comeback. But this is like, I don't know, this is like a month ago at this point, like when these changes only began to start happening behind the scenes. But there must have been like some part of that test must have gone wrong, if they were like, nope, okay, not something we're looking for, and decided to go towards Alex,
Fnatic should pick up Hampus, Brollan, and add 2 other Swedes, says Mandarin in chat.
I mean, there's like Isaac. Who else is there? Knock. There you go.
Crims would stay. There you go.
That's
okay.
That's actually the Swedish Dream Team we made in 2021 or something on this podcast, probably.
Was it?
Probably, like somewhere
like
about
Hampus, Brollan, Knock. Yeah, we must have for sure, 100%. I remember this.
Crims, like that's the lineup. That's the lineup.
Yeah.
And then the 5th is whoever,
Put it together.
STYKO, which team, from all the rumors and teams and stuff that's happening, what are you most, what piqued your interest the most?
Like obviously Heroic Trauma. I don't know if you went over it on the last show. I'm not sure
but SPUNJ wasn't there either, so we can rehash it.
Yeah, I went out for milk and I came back and the whole world was on fire. So
yeah, I think that one is really the way it all came down, and what happened on Twitter with the announcement. First of all, props to Heroic for that announcement. I honestly like the transparency. I don't know to which extent it was true or not, but let's start somewhere. And I guess the announcement was shocking, but really well put together, so it doesn't leave people guessing. I mean, we're guessing anyway, but it doesn't leave us guessing the true reason of what is happening behind the scenes.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important. Nobody rebutted it so far, so there's got to be some truth to it. Otherwise, people will be like, yeah, I call bullshit on that.
There's probably, I imagine Bubsky would have been, I saw some of the stuff that he was saying about it, and we're never going to get the whole truth, and the truth is like a matter of where you're standing, right? Like it's everybody's perspective on what the truth of a situation is going to be slightly different. But I think it is another one of these situations that we just find ourselves in where we're going, how did we get here? Because this is the bit I don't understand. How did we get to this point with this team? I understand it's been on a steady decline over some time, but the decision that was made has clearly backfired because now they need cadiaN to stand in at the fall finals. So the choice that, like, I guess they didn't know that Stown and Yabi were trying to do this whole Astralis thing, but now they're iced out. And this is the fun part for me. It's a game of chicken now. how long are you, as Heroic, do you keep them on the bench, paying them bench salary before it's no longer worth it for you and you may as well just sell them and get rid of them? Or are you that vindictive that you go, fuck Astralis, and just go, you can stew in your fucking juices, you little filthy backdoor cunts, and just like sit there and just allow this to just fester, and then they don't get the players, which has been Astralis's biggest issue over the course of them no longer being the major contending or major winning team, right? Is missing the boat on all the next prospects, which has always been an issue with dynasty teams. They miss that. They too focused on what they have. They're not looking at the future, and then they miss out on these players. And then well, I don't know how much longer these guys' contracts would be, but and I also don't know how much money a team like Heroic just has to burn. 9 months? Okay.
Yeah,
so
something like that, Tim.
Oh, I don't know. That's
very long.
Can I just say something? Glaive literally just messaged me that he never practiced with an IP. So that's that rumor. That's that rumor gone.
Okay. Well, then we're learning live on the show. Fuck it. So no Glaive to NIP was even considered an option. Yeah.
Ask
I mean,
him
maybe
about
it
Heroic.
wasn't.
Reply
He
to
didn't
him.
say.
Reply
He
to
didn't. What? Sorry.
Reply to him. Ask him about the Heroic.
Yeah, I don't know if he knows. I mean, he wasn't in Heroic. But he never said that there wasn't an option. He just didn't. That they never practiced.
Xiphon in the stable over there is actually pretty good for Heroic, right? Like I understand. Yeah. Is this a loan thing or is it?
It is a loan with kind of an up. I think everything in Heroic at the moment is kind of up in the air, and they're still looking at possibilities. From everything I've heard, they are the only team that like has no fucking clue what's going to happen in the next few months, because they're like, they don't have any clear replacement set. You could see that they only signed Dupree until the end of 2023, and this is my only my speculation, but I'm sure that that's because Dupree wanted it so, because he didn't know what the future of that team would look like exactly, because they only have 2 players set at the moment and nobody like in the pipeline to sign long term. So from that perspective, you know, like Heroic are doing everything just short term at the moment with like options in the future depending on what happens, you know. So I mean, from what I've heard about this specifically though, is that like for now he's just going to play fall final. He might play out the rest of the year. He might stay on for longer depending on how it goes.
Okay.
Yeah, I think Messi also is in chat. He just said like a kind of what I was thinking as well. The factor missing in this equation between Astralis' Blats is the PGL Copenhagen major, where both teams, both Astralis and Heroic, want to have like the best Danish lineup and essentially want to do the best, but also want to do better than the other team on home soil. So that's like a reason why Heroic might want to keep on to these players specifically until that passes. So the question is what the contracts is like. How big is the salary? How big is the bench salary? How are these things going to work? Because as Striker was saying last episode, selling these 2 players to other teams is probably much more enticing to Heroic than selling them to Astralis, especially because that would kind of fuck Astralis in an extra way. Like they kind of force these players to go out of Heroic but not end up in their team. That would be kind of interesting.
STYKO, if you had to put Stown in any team right now, right, is there any team that would leap off the, assuming without too many changes, right? Because I know a lot of things may, but if there was one that stood out, is there a place that you think Stown could go into and he would just make that team better immediately?
Damn, that's a good question, and I can't imagine Stown anywhere else than in Heroic jersey. I don't think I've ever seen him.
Imagine Stown to G2.
Yeah, that could be an option.
What about Fnatic?
They'd have to do a bit of rebuilding there to make it worth his while, I think. Like, I love watching Krim still get the job done, but otherwise it's a bit hit and miss with the other blokes, isn't it?
Role for role, I think him replacing mezii could kind of make sense-ish.
I don't think Fnatic are a team... Well, I don't want to say they're a team with a lot... I don't want to say that they're a team that doesn't have a lot of money. I want to say that they're a team that doesn't try to spend a lot of money.
I'm just looking at the in-game factors, purely in-game factors.
Yabi to Navi for IM. Would that be the funniest thing ever? Yeah.
Okay.
Run around a bit. Shoot people.
You want to use them a bit more in the front of the pack.
What about Stown? What about Stown to G2?
Stown to G2 makes sense.
Yeah. That's not bad. Actually.
Yeah, just feels like a man. And what are the Astralis blokes like burr up and stare and shit right now? What are they thinking?
But this is the question I wanted to ask you, STYKO, at the beginning, because you're kind of hyping up Shush.
Yeah.
Wouldn't he be a better pick for Astralis than either of these 2 players?
Yes, I think he would. I don't know why he isn't on the cards here. But didn't he resign new contract recently? I'm not sure.
Kind
I
of,
think
yeah, kind of, yeah.
he did,
Because he
and-
was approached. Essentially, I think this was a story that he was approached by Astralis, but then he kind of entertained the offer and then signed with Heroic. I think that was the deal. Whenever it came through in the last year, it was somewhere, and then he's signed for like 2 or 3 extra years. So maybe that's a difference, but I don't know how long these guys are, like 9 months, so that makes sense. They're kind of going out of their contracts fairly soon.
There might be a lot of like relationship stuff that we don't see behind the scenes. Maybe they feel like what Borup brings off the server is just way more impactful what SPUNJ would be bringing on the server. It's, like these people, teams and players, they know each other really well, since the Danish scene is pretty like close and they talk to each other and stuff like that.
Don't you think Borup is out though? Probably like Borup
is out, but I would say him replacing with SPUNJ would be a bigger upgrade than him being replaced by Yabi, for example. When I look at the
I
roles,
agree with that.
so I would see like Staun and SPUNJ going for Borup and Star is bigger, like makes a better team of Astralis compared to Yabi Staun combo coming in.
It's interesting that they want to hold on to Buzz as part of the core. Like, if you were going to do this, why wouldn't you just go all out? Right? Wouldn't you just get 3 new? What are we losing if we're Astralis if we're to make a shift and just keep blaming Device and bring in 3? What spots does that jeopardize for them?
I also think the Device said on multiple occasions, whenever he could, he mentioned it, that he loves playing with Buzz.
Yeah, but I don't know.
I know that
winning feels better than,
of course,
liking playing with someone.
But he has been stepping up though. He's currently 109 rating for the last 3 months, Buzz.
Yeah, but my point is, if you're gonna do something like this, right? If you're going to try and build like the best Danish team by taking the guys who are currently in the best Danish team and put them with the best Danish AWPer, and Blame F is a fantastic player, there's no question about that, then why wouldn't you just want to do the whole hog? What are you developing
lose the
for?
spot? Maybe they would lose the spot for the Valve rankings as well.
Okay.
I mean, that probably, that would be one of it. But also, like, even from a cultural perspective, if you bring in a core of Heroic into Astralis,
True.
that also comes with certain
Yeah, that's a
problems.
good point.
Like the culture is just immediately flipped. cadiaN, it's instead of that is like Blame F and Device have to get adapted to whatever Heroic we're playing. And that's not easy. So I think
No, that's a good
you would
point.
rather keep like the Astralis culture and then bring in a couple of players from Heroic to get the best of both worlds without making too much of a fuss about it.
I'm just thinking at this moment in time, I understand that teams might have to go through the longer process of having to qualify, and it's going to be even more difficult being a new game and everything's still raw and not as perfect as we would hope it to be at the moment, which hopefully by the time we get closer to the major, they've nipped and tucked a couple of updates and we're getting in that direction. But to have to go down to that now with everybody just, it's like we got a bushfire. Everything's being burned down. It's going to grow back more beautiful, right? Like people should be more inclined to make the risks now than if we were in the middle of like a cycle or whatever. We're at the start, which is probably the best time to be doing these things. But okay, do we want to jump forward to the next team? Everyone happy with where we're at?
Yep.
Okay. So NAVI confirming Wonderful. I think this one makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? This is great for Wonderful. He's just been fucking farming over there. I think we all know it's very difficult to replace a player like s1mple, and I don't think you're expecting for Wonderful to be able to have the same direct output and same aura that he would bring to matches, because I imagine if I was going up against s1mple in the server on a stage, that just the fact that, oh fuck, it's s1mple against me, and that's one of these things that forces players mentally to be a little bit all over the place. But having something like Wonderful,
if your name is X7,
yes, and you're cool as a fucking cucumber because you just finish ice in the veins. But I think this is probably overall good for the team. It just is a hard thing to say when you're talking about a player of s1mple's caliber, no longer being on the starting roster. STYKO, what do you think about this whole NAVI situation?
I think it's surreal to think that s1mple is out, and we don't know for how long as well. And I don't want to make any predictions, but I bookmarked today a podcast that I want to listen to, and I think Richard Lewis said today on the podcast, or I saw it, that he might not even come back. And that is kind of scary prospect to do because yes, he's a GOAT and everything, but he went away from CS2 in terms of break, and now he won't get a proper like goodbye even if he decides not to come back in the future for whatever reason. Like, it's just surreal to me to think about it. Maybe the chances are slim or none, but I kept thinking about it today, that it's kind of wild timeline that we're living in right now. First of all, huge signing with a wonderful. I think he's going to be a great pickup, and he's gonna try to fill the void of s1mple. But I don't think s1mple is replaceable, of course. Same as Ibu, same as NiKo on G2. I'm almost at Falcons.
maybe from the future, mate. Maybe you've already seen something that we haven't seen just yet. No, but it is that's the interesting angle that you're looking at there from, in the sense that, yeah, if he doesn't come back, this is kind of just our goodbye to s1mple.
Yeah.
As
I would be surprised about that, just from the perspective of like, even now that he's benched and like, you know, once like said that he wants some time off to focus on like other people in his life and blah blah blah. He's been like grinding FPL. I see him streaming all the time. He's like playing with Bit, all this shit that I see. So I feel like even if he's shitting on the game a lot, or he's still trying to play it a lot, and he still seems to be enjoying it, at least to some level, you know. So I feel like this, like, to expect him not to come back at this point is pretty far-fetched. But of course, like, you never know, you know, maybe in 2 months' time he's going to change his mind and realize, okay, like, I actually enjoy this time away, you know.
But that's the thing, though. His life has been very tumultuous, right, in the last couple of years, with the whole conflict between Ukraine and Russia and all that fucking bullshit. And I don't think any of us, unless we're Ukrainian, can understand. Well, and we're s1mple, right? I guess Bit and Blade are probably a couple of the only other people who would really know exactly how that feels with the NAVI situation. And we already know that s1mple is a guy that wears his heart on his sleeve most of the time. You know, he's a guy who we can see his emotions. We see him get angry, and it's. I know he's on a good wicket and he earns good money, but that doesn't make up for not being in your home and being displaced and having all of this going on. And to be able to take some time just for him. And he obviously enjoys playing video games, right? So what he's doing for fun is the thing he would probably be doing as a professional anyway. But this time to reset. How old's s1mple now? What is he, 25? Is he 25 now?
5, yeah.
20, yeah, you had his birthday recently.
Do you want to,
26.
Do you want to do like a, not a wager, but it's like throw some dates when you think he's going to be back?
I think because yeah, I mean, the problem is, like, is he going to be back in NAVI is the question mark, I think. Because, like, if you're NAVI, like, if you come close to the major and you've kind of settled into this roster and they do reasonably well in the last couple of events that they have to play this year, I mean, do you want him to come back at a time when, like do you want him to come back just before the major, you know, for example?
Yes.
You probably do, honestly. Like, you probably do.
The answer is yes.
But let's say this team just works, you know, like, let's say this team wins World Final. Like, do you throw s1mple back in?
Yes. As of
and then in
what if
place
they
of
win
who?
both World Final and World Final? Do you still throw s1mple back in?
Yes.
Okay, interesting.
The answer is yes.
Who do you replace, though?
Anyone. Yeah, you can replace him. You can replace
just anyone. But that's not. Come on, bro. Forget it was more than
probably replace Ime, right? You replace him just based on stats and stuff that's happening so far. Even if you want them to take like JL roles, you can put JL and Ime roles, and you have s1mple on the team. You just do it. There is no way you don't do it.
I mean, s1mple could easily play in Ime roles, you know, if he wants to be a hybrid. So,
bro, I'm like, there's one of these things that I always wonder about, like what would have happened. And that is when cadiaN came to NAVI and s1mple took the rifle, and everyone's like, this is obviously such a bad move. But obviously it was a bad move because cadiaN came to NAVI and cadiaN was performing awfully, and like he was not in great form. He didn't have the support for the team. There's like everything worked super bad. But he wasn't the only guy that they were looking at. I pretty much remember that at the time, Blade was also looking at Jaime and Shiro. And imagine if one of these two guys came in instead of cadiaN, maybe s1mple just continues rifling. That's like, in my brain, that could have happened. And I think that would be insanely sick. And especially at times, there's also like the double op meta that was pretty viable. I think it would have been very different to what it turned out to be with cadiaN, because it's just yeah, it was the wrong player in the wrong time in the wrong role.
Yeah, I remember that time. I was, I think, one of the people on the side who he doesn't need to AWP. Obviously, it's great that he did, but I didn't think he needed to AWP just because of how good he was as a player. Like, he's just so fucking good. He can use any. That's the same thing with Zywa. We see it now, right? That AWP is not their. They're known. They're the AWPer of the team, but they use it when they want. You know, it's like, oh, I'll use a rifle now. And it's like talking to Apeks. He's like, yeah, sometimes I have to ask Zywa to buy the AWP, and that's the same thing with s1mple. Is the type of guys, if he wants a rifle, yeah, you'll be rifling, you know.
Yeah.
But it's also, but he's also the guy who just like went into opping also in part because like he just thought he would be better at it than anybody on the team at the moment, you know. So it's like, imagine, you know, s1mple comes back. I don't feel like he would do this to Wonderful, especially if Wonderful like keeps going at the rate that he is right now. But you know, who knows? Like s1mple just goes back and he's like, why is this kid on this this weapon? Like, I want the best weapon, you know. So like, who knows? Who knows what could happen? We know how s1mple and what other operas have played together in the past, and it hasn't worked so far.
I will say,
that's true.
I believe he's playing the armor. And
You think he'll be in for the major cycle?
yes,
yeah.
yes.
Wow, really?
I'm 90% sure.
I don't really
say
hear.
so.
You wouldn't, or
why,
what?
STYKO?
I wouldn't. I don't know why. I just feel like maybe he wants to play, but since he announced it so seriously with all the benches and clearly having some personal stuff to go through, it might take longer than he expects or he wants to. Maybe he, you know, wants to play the first CS2 major. That would be huge. But there's a lot of things that can go wrong, and especially we don't know what things are going to happen with all the conflicts and everything in Europe. So it's hard to get, you know, papers, visas, bureaucracy, whatever. Like, it might get awfully complicated. And I hope he will come back in time. But I would say he's going to take a rest for, let's say, you said you want to wager, I will say 5 months. So it's not by the time.
So just
our
after the
markets-
major, he's going to come back,
I think so.
more or less.
He'll probably watch it and then be like, "Fuck, I should be there winning that." And then but that's the thing. Also, for everybody, in terms of how long they need away, is different for every person, and they're only going to find that themselves. Like, it's so hard. I can't imagine him just, because this is still really raw, right? What are we talking within the space of a week? That's what we're looking at here, within the space of a week. So things are still settling in. It's going to take. He might end up with Zeus in Bali or some shit.
Honestly, when STYKO said 5 months, I'm like, okay, so already, like, how many months already passed? Like a month or so since he was benched. Like, in my brain,
it's
that's
like
how
last
long.
week.
It's literally a week. In my brain, it feels like so long.
I mean, this week has been pretty long, to be fair.
Yeah, a lot of
About
shit
7 days
happening.
or so.
But yeah, I just believe he has, like, I don't think his drive to be the best and be recognized as the best has gone away. I think his drive to compete and do Counter-Strike, it has, because of all of these things that we talked about. But I think, like, after a few months and, you know, seeing other people win, he's gonna be mad enough to, you know, I don't want to just sit on the sidelines and allow these people to win stuff. I think there was also, there was one interview that he did when, like, FaZe were going on the Grand Slam, is like, our goal is just to beat FaZe at this tournament, so they don't want the Grand Slam. Like, he has this, like, I don't want other people
Like,
to
fuck you,
drive, you know. It's not like Zywa is like, oh, whatever. There's that kind of kind of spitefulness, competitive spitefulness in him.
I think,
I really hope. Yeah, sorry, go on.
No, you're good, man. Go for it.
Yeah,
I'm on lag
I just
down here.
really hope that the competitiveness in him and the hunger doesn't fade away, because I feel like that's going to be only factor that forces him to come back. Because if he's taking break for a long time, if it's about money or income or financial side, I think he will realize that it's easier for him to make that kind of money not playing and not, like, grinding. Not grinding every day, competing. Obviously, it's draining and it's stressful. It's different kind of lifestyle. And only thing that can force him back, as you said, Prof, is the hunger to compete. Seeing other people win around, and he's like, fuck, like, I'm much better than them. Let me win this trophy instead. But it might not happen. Like, I've seen people that took a break, and the life that it spirals into is so much more comfortable and much more, you know what's coming. Like, it's not unpredictable life, because in esports, a lot of things are unpredictable.
I think the unpredictable nature that you're discussing here is also key with the scene right now, because let's say that he's like, oh, you know, in his head, he's like, I'll probably take 6 months off. But let's say we get towards the end of the year, where mid to late December, and a few more of these roster changes happen that haven't happened just yet because of who knows what. They start moving around, and then it's like the perfect team, where it's like it's some players that he'd really want to play with, or then maybe that, you know, coaxes him to go, well, yeah, I don't think the fire is going to go anywhere. When you're a competitor like s1mple, I don't think it goes anywhere. That is ingrained in him as a human being. That's why people love him or hate him. And that's why sometimes when people like hear him doing the interviews or he's saying the shit he says, I was like, oh, you shouldn't do. No, this guy is just, he's unashamedly himself, and he's a fucking competitor through and through. And and there really could be some crazy opportunities that do open up with players that would be great for him to play with. And that's all still possible.
I think it kind of hinges on if that place is NAVI or not. Obviously, I mean, there was a lot of talk about like whether it was NAVI who wanted him out in some way, or whether it was just him who needed a break and to solve all this stuff, you know. If it's not NAVI, you know, like let's just imagine let's imagine a world where NAVI doesn't want him back, you know, that's a problem, because, you know, like who has the money to afford s1mple, you know?
Falcons.
Well, possibly.
I don't know. Possibly. Yeah,
but
possibly.
Yeah, I mean, I also heard that they don't want him, so I don't know. Maybe that's out of the realm of possibilities.
Okay. Well, the thing is as well, though, you would imagine. So I know that NAVI, they're not going to just sell a player for no money. But if they didn't want him back, they're like, no, it's all good. Like we're all right now, s1mple. Like it's all good. s1mple must have a good relationship. He's been very loyal to that team over all these years. You know, he was going to go join MIBR for a while there, but he got cold feet to get on the plane, right? He's been very loyal to the team. So it's probably a situation that I see where they won't hold him ransom. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I don't understand how cutthroat the business is out there.
I mean, it's also not ransom. It's just like a massive asset. He's obviously a massive asset. That's like, you know, I can only imagine.
Streaming, he earns them so much, you know, exposure in terms of like all of the sponsors that they have. Just that one box.
That's to STYKO's point before. Think about all the money he can make just by being him, and just not like going and doing like expo spots, just fucking rocking up and signing autographs and shit, and just being.
Bro,
in
but that's not.
Though.
I mean, that's not s1mple, to be fair, though. I feel like he's streaming just because
money.
I think he's streaming kind of just because he like plays the game anyway, and he understands that he has this pull, and he just likes talking, I suppose. So I feel like he's doing it not necessarily. I mean, I'm sure like the money is probably pretty good coming out of it, you know. But he doesn't strike me as the type of guy who does it just for that, you know. It's more like I already play the game, so I might as well stream to people doing it, you know.
And I don't think money's a problem for him anyway. Doesn't he have like businesses set up? Like he's got that fucking sushi thing with his brother or whatever.
I'm sure he's fine, man. Let's just say that.
Yeah, money's not a problem. All right, let's jump into a problem for STYKO that he's about to have to battle right here. It's going to be
what a segue.
Skinionaire. It's a little quiz we do every week. This is brought to you by TradeIt.gg. Type Trade It in chat right now if you would like to
enter.
I have a
quick question.
Yeah?
Did we do ads at any point?
Oh no! Well, I rocked up late. Should we run that? Should we run the ads now, Lucas?
Let's run the ads. All right.
Yeah. Lucas is calling in on a fucking cell phone. Let's go to the ads. We'll come back with Who Wants to Be a Skinionaire, brought to you by TradeIt.gg.
It's a good vibe. It's a good vibe. It's a good vibe. Good vibe.
Best esports odds, VIP program, and a variety of bonuses. Fast and easy withdrawals. Bet on every possible CSGO matching tournament, as well as any other esports game. Only on 22Bet.
Do you want to change your boring old skins for awesome new ones fast, without losing a lot of value, and without the risk of getting scammed? Go to TradeIt.gg and safely trade your items within 60 seconds. Just select which items you want to trade from your inventory and choose whatever skin you want from TradeIt's inventory. Click Trade, verify the trade on Steam, and you're good to go. With the biggest inventory available for the lowest trading fees on the market, TradeIt.gg is your go-to whenever you want to play with new skins.
We're back in business. Thank you for sticking with us throughout the break. A quick shout out to everyone's favorite Nelex 5000 who's made it into the chat. It's great to see him returning to our Twitch chat. We've been talking about him. At least I have a little bit over the last couple of weeks. So it's great to see the Italian make his way in here. Now, we are here for Who Wants to Be a Skinionaire, brought to you by Tradeit.gg, one of our partners here at HLTV. Well, no, not org, confirmed. Yeah, the podcast. That's where we are, aren't we, everyone? It's the sun's coming up. Okay, so STYKO, are you ready? We got 5 questions. Every question you get right, we're going to move the slider up, and one lucky winner in chat could be taking home the grand prize of a $50 skin voucher. That's it. Type Trade It in chat now for your chance to enter. And let's get things underway, shall we? Question number 1. Rops recorded 2 maps in a team with Nexa and Minio in 2017. It was named D's Nuts, D's Seeds, or D's Eggs.
Did he really? Rops recorded 2 maps with these guys? How do I not know this? I think I saw D's Nuts, obviously, appear on...
This feels like a trick question, doesn't it? I feel like there's only one real answer here.
D's Nuts, it might be then.
All right, we'll lock in A, D's Nuts, and the correct answer is A, D's Nuts. Did you do these, Prof, or is this a Dimitri job? What's happening here?
I actually, he sent some questions. I wasn't really happy, so I remade them. And then he replied, "You're just using this to have Chad say D's Nuts," and actually, it was worth it. It was actually very funny.
I'll do the.
You're like 10 years old, Prof.
I'll do the quiz. I'll do the quiz next week. I'll start. I don't have any work to do for the rest of the year, so I will start. I'll start contributing more around here. I'll carry my load. All right. Question number 2. My load in these nuts. Okay. So, I thought Prof would have lost it there. He didn't. He kept it together. Okay. Question number 2. I've lost the page. Which one of these teams did Satsanito not play in? Apeks, Bluebirds, or 19 Centimeter Gang? What the fuck is that?
Whoever made these questions, besides the...
Prof.
Okay, I will say Bluebirds. I think 19 CM Gang is a bunch of FPL players, right? They played a couple of qualifiers.
So the team that he did not play in.
I think he did not play in. He played in Blue Jays, but Bluebirds, I would remember that.
Okay, all right, fair enough. All right, we're going to lock in B, Bluebirds. Correct answer. Bluebirds. Look, that's a trick question right there. Blue Jay is a
Bluebird.
Look at that. Look at that from Prof. Getting tricky with it. Understanding STYKO. He's played many a quiz before.
He understands all of these nuts and all these. He remembers.
I like it. I like it. All right. Question number 3. Coming in thick and hot. Out of the following, who is the oldest? Oscar, Angel, or Crystal? Wow.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Fucking hell. Who is the oldest? I guess we're about to find out.
I think I know who it isn't, but I don't know about the other 2.
Yeah. It's... Do you want a tip or something? I don't know how to give a tip without being obvious.
Too obvious. All right.
I mean, I know how old Oscar is. I don't know about the other 2 for sure.
I know two of them has kids already. I would rule Crystal out. And out of Angel and Oscar, I'm trying to think of some argument back in Hellraisers which ended, but I'm the older guy, so I'm right. But it never happens.
But Angel's been going forever.
I think I will go with Angel, maybe.
All right, we're gonna lock in B, Angel.
I'm not sure.
I mean,
how old? I mean,
Oscar's 31.
Okay, then definitely Angel. Angel's older than Angel's either my age or older than me.
He's over 300%.
He's 34, yeah. Oscar is 32, I think, now.
Oh,
I think he just had a birthday, I guess.
Okay, well, there you go. All right, well, we're 3 from 3. We are flying through these. Question number 4 for the $15 skin. Out of the following, who has the least MVPs? Automatic, Romps, or Oscar? Oscar getting the fair share here today on the shelf. Out of the following, who has the least?
These questions, man.
I think Oscar has 2. I'm thinking if Automatic had some. I think he had some, but I think it might have been only 1 or 0. I think Oscar had 2, so any tips?
Well, this is a hard one.
Automatic or Oscar?
I think Oscar has 2. I think you're right.
Yeah, but
And
Automatic
Robs
didn't have some.
has more.
Way more.
Yeah,
He had
has
from
to have more.
EPL.
Yeah, he
from
has just two for EPLs. Yeah.
Okay,
Or
then
like 3 or
Automatic it
something.
is. Then Automatic it has to.
I
be.
think you're right. I think you're right.
Okay, we will lock in. Oh, I lost.
Automatic has like
A.
an ECS one or some shit, but that's it or something.
Did you click it?
I'm clicking it now. Sorry,
I'm
I
gonna
lost the
check.
page. I usually have dual monitors. Right now, I just have a laptop and a touchpad, so it's kind of a bit hard. I've locked in A automatic. Correct answer is A automatic. Damn. Okay. 4 from
Actually
4.
had EPL as well.
Well, PPL too. Oh yeah, Season 4 is the Brazilian one, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, here we go. Moving into our 5th and final question of Who Wants to Be a Skinionaire, brought to you by Trader.gg. And it is... Sunny's first HLTV team was Ents, and the latest one is Ambush, FPX, or Gorillas.
Ambush.
Oh dear. Ambush? Okay.
Yeah, he played with mezii. We trialed him last year. He was IGLing, and who was there? Who else? Nato Suffix, maybe? I'm not sure.
Okay.
Of course there
locking
was,
in
man.
A ambush, and the correct answer is A ambush. Ding, 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 ding. The confetti comes down. The fireworks are going off. The room lights up. A couple of people roll in with a massive cake. STYKO, you've done it. All 5 correct with this week's Who Wants to Be a Skinionaire. And guess what? One lucky winner at home. They're taking home the grand prize. Lucas is drawing them right now. I should have maybe timed that crescendo a little bit better. And it is going to be, oh, I have to fucking squint. Is that ASI82?
That seems to be the case.
Okay, ASI82. Congratulations. Our people will reach out to your people. You're the winner. Thanks to STYKO. Say thank you. All right. Well, great. We've smashed that. We've nailed that. Let's get into the dregs of the conversation, shall we? Oh, also, did you guys see Minio got benched?
Oh, yeah,
Yes.
that's also happened. I forgot to add it. I was taking a nap this afternoon, so I missed it.
Yeah, so that's interesting. I guess it's a new direction that Nine are hoping to go. And Minio was he was the older boy on the team. So that's interesting right there. A bit of a shame because Nine were always so close, but yet so far. So I'm trying to think who would they bring in from the Polish scene to replace him as an in-game leader. Is anybody at the top of anyone's minds here? May as well touch on this while we're.
If it was a month ago, I would have said Stacks, but he's now in Gamer Legion, so that's not gonna happen.
Or never say never, STYKO.
I mean, look, it could happen down the line, maybe, but not any. Like now, I don't have anybody like off the top of my head.
Oh, you've really got me thinking. That's interesting, Al. Okay, all right, okay, fair enough. It's not happening now. Like Nine is now going to be the type of organization who's going to get somebody out of Gamer Legion unless they want him out. Okay, yeah. I just think like I would love more nation-based teams. I fucking hate this lack of identity.
You know what? That's somebody who had that famous bet against you. I actually agree with you now. But not because of the competitiveness. I never argued for like, well, why would it be more interesting? I was just saying that it's inevitable.
Yeah, and now every fucking team basically every team in the top 10, it's kind of ugh. Anyway, it doesn't matter. That's just the state of the nation right now. Who knows? Or the lack thereof. Ha. Okay. Let's take a look here. So Valve's interview, did anybody read it?
Oh yeah.
It was with whom?
PC Gamer. Honestly,
I don't read anything.
Like I don't want to put shade or anything, but for PC Gamer, I actually expected better quality. I think the questions, like most of the questions, were just straight up not interesting at all. Considering
who would have thought a website that isn't a hardcore Counter-Strike website would ask about bad questions?
But I'm not
Counter-Strike.
talking even about that. But it was more like too broad, and too like it produced the answers that we've already heard before, and like nothing that much that was new that came out of it. So that's what like left me a little bit disappointed that that's the interview that we get like for the first time in
once
years.
In 10 years, yeah, we get that.
So like in terms of that, but I mean there was still some interesting parts of it. I'm just like trying to go back to it just to refresh my memory about it.
Well, if anybody has any of the cliff notes, because when I saw who conducted the interview, I'll be honest, I didn't bother reading it. I just didn't bother reading
How
it.
can you like? This is the first time we hear from.
Because I spoke to Valve at the start of the year, mate. The thing could have been written by fucking Kotaku or some shit. Same thing. I'm not fucking reading that. Like, It's
I mean,
just,
I mean, the biggest part of what they said was that they basically launched it kind of. I mean, we've kind of talked about it, right? Like just because the beta was getting increasingly fewer players playing it, and it was harder for them to be able to get the data that they need to be able to update it properly. And so they were saying like, we just launched it at a time that we did to get it to the place where we want to be as fast as possible, you know. And that makes
fair enough.
that makes sense with what we've been talking about, like about the release. Even if people were not happy about it, then understandably so, you know, it was kind of the way that it needed to happen.
That's part of our speculation anyway about it, right? Like that's what we would discuss. We'd say, yeah, okay, well, professional players are not going to prioritize playing this. Why would they? They're still trying to be the best in CSGO. And until you get it in their hands, you're not really going to be getting the level of feedback necessary. And then even then, some of the feedback is pretty fucking dirt. STYKO, have you...
well, yeah, I just wanted to say
the
the other part was that they kind of acknowledged the problems that are, or like that the landing has been bumpy, you know, and like the release didn't necessarily come out as they probably would have hoped in terms of how ready the game was and stuff like that. Like there was some references to that. I'm paraphrasing here, but it was pretty clear that they understand that there's reason to be disappointed with the launch, you know, but that just that they kind of explained it by saying that they needed to launch it at that time just to get more players playing it effectively.
Yeah, fair enough. STYKO, did you read it? Did you take the time? Were you better than I was?
Yeah, I of course read it. I'm into this kind of stuff and trying to, you know, keep up with everything. What strikes me, well, for the topic that Striker just mentioned with you, is that the release, yes, was bumpy, but at the same time, I feel like it was really necessary for us to make this hard transition. It was never going to be perfect timing for it. It was never going to be easy. I'm honestly okay with it. I think it's much better than when CSGO came out. That part of period I vividly remember because I was about to become a semi-professional / professional player, so that was rowdy times. But for example, in Malta, when EPL was happening in September, CS2 was already out, but we were kind of forbidding ourselves from playing it just to prepare for CSGO tournament and keep the mechanics within CSGO. I think if CSGO and CS2 would be simultaneously out to this day, I think I would still be focusing on, you know, CSGO. I wouldn't play CS2 because there would be some CSGO tournaments going on. So the transition that they will just cancel one game to release another, I think it was a good call. Second thing that really interested me as a player that comes a lot into meta, and I you know, look for these kind of things. The fact that they mentioned the initiative to bring more weapons into the game is something really interesting to me, because I really love the addition of loadout, but I feel like right now in CS2 it is very forgiving. Like there are not many options that you can do. Like pretty much everyone is playing kind of same weapons, and there's no variety in it, even though we can see the first glimpses of it. But having new weapons coming into CS2, I feel like there's going to be much more dedicated, you know, roles, like sticking to some kind of weapons when it comes to economy, so they have this lesser weapons on the positions that they don't need those high fire rate and power weapons to have through. So I'm really looking forward how these loadout changes will pan out, because I think it will add a skill ceiling to the game. I'm going to be honest with you.
That's interesting.
Sorry about my camera shaking because I have a cat on top of my monitor at the moment, messing everything up. So
highly precarious, but it's cute. So we'll let it slide. We'll allow it to slide. I think that's interesting about the loadouts, and yeah, I did see the headline about adding new weapons, but I wonder so it would be necessary for the players, like the way I understood it. If the player base needs a different way to find a solution to something, then they would add a tool that could potentially help with that solution, right? So being a weapon of some variety. Where are we lacking in that regard at the moment, right? I think one of the biggest things that people complain about is the CT side economy, and that comes with the FAMAS not really feeling like it packs enough of a punch, right? Wouldn't we just make the FAMAS better as opposed? What are we bringing in here? We're seeing people use more shotguns. There's a slew of SMGs used, still mainly the MAC-10 and the MP9, but you see some people whipping out the MP7, for example, even some people with the MP5. I just assume those people didn't change their loadouts. But there's some of this stuff. I'm just thinking, where are we missing? And I understand with how we think about CS, we're probably thinking about it in the lines that we have available to us right now.
Yeah.
Is there anything that would make sense to add new weapons to? What are we missing, Prof? Are we missing anything?
I don't know. I guess like if you think about it from like that CT point of view, like if you want to use the FAMAS, it's still not really great at range. Like it's not a rifle that you're going to be confident taking like a long range duel against like a Deagle or a Scout or whatever. I feel like you're like 50-50ing these things. So maybe that's an area where they look at to do something like an alternative rifle that is maybe, I don't know, more long, but that's kind of the Scout, right?
When
So
you
I don't
bring in
know.
rifles, though, that's when you're like rifles kind of changed. I remember when the Galil. This is how old I am. I remember when the Galil and the FAMAS came in. I was like, what the fuck? They've had we had an M4 and an AK. Why do we need a
Yeah.
Galil and a FAMAS? Right? It's one of these things where, as the community, we tend not to know what's good for us until we have it, and then it takes us a while to adapt to it. This is I think my vocabulary is a little bit slow this morning. Sorry, everybody. But the fact that we're seeing a lot more like Org and Krieg being used in the early stages of this is showing that the players have at least not come into this as closed-minded as they were previously. They're experimenting with some of the weapons even that aren't in meta to just see what kind of works in CS2. And to be fair, without having all of the information laid out in a Sloth Squadron spreadsheet to see, what damage and what penetration and what everything's doing, it's a bit harder for us to come to those kind of conclusions on things. But I would say people have been quite diverse with their weapon choices so far in CS2, obviously within the realms of possibility, but we've seen a bigger slew of weapons, I'd say. So I'm curious.
It was even kind of funny that a lot of the time, like there was even a couple of teams that played like P2000s almost exclusively.
Yeah.
And I have no idea why. Like I don't understand. Like stats haven't changed. The weapons are still the same. They deal the same damage. Is it just like that? Why does the one bullet make any sort of a difference?
Is it the same? Like, isn't penetration in certain like textures and stuff like things aren't as strong? I don't know about videos.
Yeah, I don't know about kind of like corners and stuff like that. But honestly, in pistols, I'm not sure if that really comes into play so much that you would care so much about it that you would just like switch entire teams. I don't know enough about the reasoning behind it. It was like I think one of them was. It was one of the Russian teams, and I can't remember which one, which was at IM Sydney. I just I would have to check back, but like one of them picked up the P2000 almost as a whole, and the
there's a
scoped
bunch
weapons.
of people using it. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure. You're not off the mark at all.
A bunch of the IGLs, I think, were playing with the scope weapons. Some of the operas were playing with the scope weapons, which was interesting as well. So I mean,
lots of Ents were using the Org.
Yeah, exactly. There were some like shotguns here and there, but nothing like crazy about that. So I think just everybody does a little bit of experimenting here and there. It's also like the shotguns, obviously, kind of like the main weapon where you could at least abuse the smoke mechanic a little bit more. You can shoot through it. You can get a little bit more information out of it because it spreads the smoke way more than anything else effectively. So like from that perspective, it might be more viable. But generally, I mean, stats-wise, nothing really changed this as far as we can tell.
How are we feeling?
What do you think about just the guns and stuff? Does everything feel the same, or any differences for you?
I think people realize that there are some more advantages that are more exploitable in CS2, such as AUG and Krieg, for example. AUG on CT side, scoped weapon, which doesn't really change, but people are starting using it because it's much easier to hold angles, which in CS2 in general, it's really hard because people keep swinging on you and at insane speed. They see you better, they see you faster. So it's superior over M4, I would say. M4 right now, I don't see a reason. This is kind of a bold statement, but I don't see a reason for you to have M4A4 in your loadout right now.
Whoa, come on now, man.
No,
come on, leave the A4 users alone.
Listen. So M4A1, I think is not that great. Like, obviously, it's weaker to M4A4, but M4A4 is 3100, 3100, yeah, and AOG is 3300, right? Yeah. So it's only 200 difference between way superior weapon, I feel like, because of the pure nature of CT side that is holding angles, holding sights, and getting advantageous duels. Plus, you get the extra scope. Plus. Yeah, that's pretty much the all that is. But, and there's one more important thing is that it's one shot headshot kill potential. To a
Okay,
lot of
very
people,
close, yeah.
Pretty close
yeah,
range, right?
yes,
Though.
you have to be really close, but a lot of people don't know this. But on T side, even if you have 100 HP and 100 Kevlar helmet, you can die to AUG one shot if you're close enough, which are situational, but definitely doable that you can pull off even if you're face it Premier games or even pro games. I see some people doing it in Inferno Apeks, for example, in Ramp
Okay.
Nuke. These anchor players having AUG in their loadout will benefit more than having M4A4. And if you don't have money, just get M4A1 and you will get some extra nades to pair it up with.
We all love extra nades, don't we? We all like getting caught with fucking nades in our hand going around corners. Now, there was something I wanted to bring up. Let me just, there's lots of things I want to talk about with this, to be honest. I love talking about this shit, but so I just want to make sure I'm just double checking. Give me a second.
Also, I'm just checking. It's we are 2.5 hours into the show,
Oh,
but
fuck.
just saying.
I was
we
late
can,
though, Prof.
We can continue. I don't mind. I just want to check with STYKO if you need to leave at any point. If you have like a bedtime, no screen time or something. I don't know what your screen time is. If mom allows you to be on the PC later or not, but if you need to leave, you're allowed. Just saying.
No, I think I'm good for another, like, let's say half an hour.
Yeah. Okay. We
Okay.
can make
Thanks,
that work.
mom. Thanks, mom.
Oh, isn't that cute? That's great. Okay. Now, one of the things I want to talk about. So, what I had learned during IEM Sydney was Valve had asked ESL to collect information from players for feedback on what needs to be addressed.
That's why
Now,
s1mple didn't go.
So, and this is interesting because when I'm learning this, you know, I know the way that players, at least a lot of them, like to give feedback. So I imagine not a lot of it would be as if you were talking to STYKO and you might get a paragraph per thing that you might get some feedback on. I imagine there was a few that just giving dot points and not really helping out a whole lot there. But if I had to pose this question to you, STYKO, and maybe the broader group, we'll get everyone's opinions here. What are the top 3 gameplay things right now that you think need to be addressed, like urgently, or should be the priority? Maybe not urgently, and gameplay. So not people complaining about their fucking ELO in Premiere and being disbalanced, or complaining that the anti-cheat's dog shit, because those are the things that we've always known. But the gameplay, the core gameplay mechanics.
All right. So you didn't give me a lot of time to think about it, so I'll just say some of stuff top of my head. Okay.
Okay.
First of all, economy. I think we all agree that it's kind of skewed with the importance of with the MR12 coming into the play. There is a lot of difficulties that comes with it on CT side to kind of get the tempo up. It's really easy to get reset. It's really hard to get the ball rolling. Not optimal, I would say. The economy changes are needed. I won't give you any concrete answers here because I think there's way more competent people that can do that, that comes up with an answers. But economy, second thing would be, what would be the second thing? I think HE doing a sound cue whenever you hit someone even for 1 damage is a big deal. I keep abusing it pretty much every day. Like in my solo games, Premiere, Face It, whatever. It's just so abusable.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I agree with your sentiment. Do you find it's consistent? Because during Sydney, we were talking about it on and off, and I read online there was differing opinions. Some people, but then MC, he does like the cams and stuff for ESL. He said he stayed up with the Rooster Boys like late one night and testing it, and it was inconsistent. Which I think that, because I'm with you, I agree that this is an overpowered. The grenade is already strong enough, blowing away the smoke and doing damage, and now free information like that's fucked. The free info so maybe it is a bug, or maybe it's not an intended thing. Because if it's inconsistent, because I remember reading someone online was like, oh, if you have no armor, it makes noise. If you have armor, it doesn't. I was like, well, for me, when I heard it all the time. So have you tried to research it, or it's just something that you use and see how you go when you're in a match or something like that?
Maybe my bad, but I didn't put too much effort into
no, I don't know either, dude. There's no
just,
accusation. Who the fuck knows?
I'm not at the point where I'm playing a Counter-Strike competitively. Therefore, I'm not really rewatching my games. Like, I can download the Premiere demo and watch it. I'm not doing like, I'm going into Face It and I download Face It game just to watch it, to confirm it. And I don't play practice to do it either. So I don't really have any replay right now in my head that I can go and check it. But it felt consistent when I found out about it. Obviously, if Rooster Boys, they took this test one step further and they actually tested it out multiple times. well, they're probably having correct info, but if it's inconsistent, I think it's even worse.
Yeah. Like, there's another thing I noticed as well, and I saw it when I was casting some of the phase matches. So now we have a dink, a goosh, and a kill noise, right? Whereas before we only had a dink and a goosh, and that would be your feedback. If you dink someone at range and it was through a smoke, you'd hear the dink, and you go, "Fuck, I dinked a guy." But now I think there's even a tag noise, because I was watching Brokey like spam through a smoke at range on nuke, and he tagged the guy crossing secret, and his lips start moving. I know he didn't see shit through the hole because I'm looking at his POV. And but I heard something. Like, it's obviously harder for me. Other people are talking. I get a lot of different things. I'm not always on that exact POV. Shit's going on in the fucking crowd. But I swear I heard like a tag noise. Is that cropping up for anybody else either, getting tagged and hear it making sound cues? Because that's also bullshit. That shouldn't exist either.
I remember in 1.6 it was a cheat. Actually, you could download the specific sounds that you put into your config file or whatever, like a game file, and it altered sound noise a little bit. So whenever you were wallbanging someone, you could clearly hear you were wallbanging. It was essentially like people were spamming around boxes, and in 1.6 you could spam everything. And people, as soon as you tag someone, they start spamming that position even more. So it was banned, obviously, but I remember when I was playing that people keep using it in Czechoslovakian scene. Stryker was playing against me back then. So
that's how long ago it was.
Yeah. So, but I remember something like that it's just way too overpowered when you can hear it long range. Maybe if you're close to the smoke and you tag someone, yes, you can hear it. That's fine with me. But if he was nuke somewhere heaven and he's crossing, people are crossing secret and he's tagging them and he clearly hears that, I don't think that's correct.
Yeah, so, but this is where I suppose we should spend a bit more time exploring this thought, right? So, do we think that hearing a goosh and a dink noise at range is fine?
I think.
I mean, I don't really have an argument against it.
But
I just feel like it's a bit
why
inconsistent. I feel like it's inconsistent to other noises. Like, it's not like you hear when the bullet hits the wall behind that guy, but you hear when it hits his head. But so I think that's kind of weird. And I don't know. I find it a bit annoying. Like, I know it happened to me, like playing B Inferno, and someone just throws a random nade like above from banana into the site, and they hear that thing, they instantly know where you are.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like now either I have to change position or I'm kind of fucked. Like, there's no element of surprise or anything. It's just, again, I just feel like it's weird to get that sort of information so easily.
For HES, but it's more like you were talking about goosh and dink, right, Chad?
No, well, yes, because I'm trying to. I think for the nade situation, no, I'm just trying to think if we hear goosh and dink, then should we hear tag, and not tag with nade, but tag with gun?
I think the goosh and dink part, I mean, that's mechanic is in the game for you to recognize that you did a lot of damage to somebody, and I think that's like very tied to that specific information, you know. Obviously, you know, in some cases it can be very misleading because you dink somebody through a wall and it gives them like 4 HP or 4 damage and whatever, and obviously, you know, you have to recognize that.
Which actually should be fixed. Actually, that should be fixed.
I think you shouldn't. Okay.
Yeah, it should be like if the dink does less than fucking 60 damage, it should not be the dink.
Okay, I mean,
or, you know, some percentage of the damage that gun's dink does.
Interesting.
I think that's actually that's actually a pretty cool idea to solve that. Just, you know, to base it off of damage, but also like, I just think that's why that feedback is there, rather than for information like about where the player is or whatever. If you've hit the player, but it's more about, okay, how much damage did you deal to the player, you know? And that's something that a lot of people rely on, you know, especially if it's the goosh sound, you know, that's fairly obvious that you did a lot of damage, unless it's through a wall or like through a corner or something like that, you know. So I think it's very different from the HE, which is literally just information about their position, you know. So I think it's two very different things.
There's some people in chat who are saying in CSGO it had a tagging sound. Nelex has chimed in. He said it was much quieter in CSGO, which is probably why it'd be more negligible. Right? But it's just, I think if I'm spamming from hell and someone's doing secret wall smoke and I'm spamming with a silenced M4, so they can't even fucking punish me, right? They can't. How are you going to punish me? What are you going to do? And I just get free information on people crossing. It kind of takes away the element of the point of those smokes is to act as a fake in some situations, right? Sometimes nobody is behind those smokes taking that space. And and obviously, when you're spamming, you might not hit somebody, right? And they cross for free, and you go, "Oh, no one." But that I just think free information in a game that is so info based, right? And smoke and mirrors is a big part of it, and it just giving away that stuff for what, right? What are we rewarding here? So I think that definitely needs to be that definitely needs to be looked at. Let me see it, because I wrote down a couple of things that I thought, and I want to see what you guys think
I
about
also,
this.
just to say, I also got the 2 clips that I asked STYKO if he has some like interesting things that he would like to highlight. So
oh, nice.
I got 2 clips that we can talk about at some point.
What are they about, STYKO?
Smokes.
Smokes. Okay. Oh, well, do we want to take a look at those now? Then here we go. Let's take a look at them now. Lucas has brought them just up. Let me open up this a little bit.
So just to give context, I think you STYKO just give context, because otherwise people miss.
I'm trying to do a weatherman already, okay?
Let's go.
So I picked this clip. It's really interesting because I feel like it's something that we don't see often, and obviously there's a break of the smoke coming from Vitality.
Right?
Yes. Well, it's a Vitality smoke wall outside. But instead of CTs trying to break it in order to, broke it through the smoke here, and Rain tried to get an info. I think it's Rain. I'm not sure, because I can't really see.
After that, you can see.
Yeah, Apeks threw the HE himself into the smoke wall, and 3 people from Vitality, they swung outside to catch the rotation of guard. So they want to catch the spammer instead of being spammed, which is, I think, incredibly like rare to see that it works both ways. When these news about smokes came out, we all thought about, okay, people will just break the smoke and they will see you and they will kill you. But now you can counter it by breaking it yourself and catching CTs off guard. Here, Vitality didn't get any kill, but if Zai, I think Brokey was rotating through heaven, he could have easily get called out if he was a little bit out of position here. So I think it's really interesting to see how meta develops already. And this is IM Sydney lower bracket, so it's one of the first CS2 matches at the top level.
I think the key, and that's almost like feels like everything at the moment in CS2, but was also an element of CSGO when we talk about it. But if you're the one dictating the move, right, then you're the one set and ready for it. So it's like, are you ready to make that move? And if you are, can you capitalize on it? Obviously, the information gathering, I think, is stronger for the CTs in a lot of occasions. But if you know, and STYKO, you can attest to this, the level of detail going into looking at where players play and how they rotate. If a player is playing the same spot too often, you can punish that quite easily, and that's an opening kill. That's a way into a round. So yeah, that was a fun one. Okay. What's you want to jump into number 2? Here we go. Look at this. Lucas is banging them out.
Okay, there's a clip. Shout out to Nart out here because it's from his video.
Yeah, this one is, I saw it live, but then I realized that it's actually from his video as well. But look what is happening. Like, they have Complexity have eco, but JT find the lineup from T-Spawn that it destroys the smoke through the wall, which I think is a bug. It should be fixed. It's one of the things I wanted to mention, that this is not going to stay in Counter-Strike for a long time. It might be a pain to fix when it comes to coding, but the HE deals no damage to his teammates through the wall, but it deals damage through the wall to the smoke, so it deflects it, and eventually, thanks to this, they got a bomb plant, which is in Counter-Strike, professional Counter-Strike, it's a huge thing. On full
with less rounds as well.
Yeah,
like that means a big deal with less rounds, and that has to be a bug, doesn't it?
Okay, so it was very close
case,
anyway.
Fuck, you're not meant to say that, Lucas. You meant to cut the clip before it.
Don't let Fats
show it
get
again.
away with a good story.
Show it again. And show it again.
That's what I was
you know what? There was that complexity round where they were diffusing. I think they fixed that as well. Where Lige, he looked like he suicided to the Molotov that Twisted thrown. That was obviously, I think they've patched that already. But yeah, it's interesting like how some of these things interact like this, because they're definitely not intended. Like when
this cannot be intended. Yeah, I mean that there was also like some cases where like before where nades were dealing damage through a wall or something like that, like through places where they weren't supposed to and stuff like that. So I think this is also one of those situations.
Also, I have one extra clip in the TeamSpeak if you want to show that maybe. Ooh. But it's I think SPUNJ saw this. I posted it on Twitter before the IM Sydney. It's on overpass, the hole in pillar that gives you just free information. I don't understand why this isn't patched overnight. Literally, this is 1 minute fix, I feel like, in Valve time. But I think this should be fixed because it gives you competitive advantage. Like you can see someone without them seeing back at you.
Oh my god!
How does this happen? Like, is the texture disappear on distance?
Yes,
or what?
Because it's too far. The middle of the pillar just disappears. If you scope through it, it will disappear, and you will see just the pillar. But if you have M4, you see clearly people crossing out of monster and they cannot dodge you. It's exactly in a place where they can't crouch underneath it or jump over it. So it's free information. Yes, in Pro Counter-Strike, there's often like heaven smoke, obviously. But in Premiere, like I'm abusing this. I'm gonna say it out loud. I'm abusing it. Valve should fix this. Like it's really easy fix.
But that's the thing, and I think that one of the keys is if it exists in the game, right, and it's not, you know, you're not changing any fucking files or anything like that, then doing that is the best way to get Valve's attention about these things. But I kind of agree with your sentiments. Like, how is it not just patched overnight? Do the CS:GO Twitter account follow? Do you follow them? Do they follow you?
Yeah, I emailed it to them as well.
Yeah,
but
just fucking shoot them a message, man. I keep trying to encourage a lot of pro players to do that, and they look at me and they go, "Well, they're not going to listen to me." I'm like, "Well, who the fuck are they going to listen to if they're not going to listen to you?" Like, you know what I mean? Like the people who are playing the game every day at the professional level. So this is I want to tie this back into the feedback that I think was collected. These are some of the things that I had written down. And tell me what you guys think about this, because I don't know. I would never act as if I fucking have any idea on a coding perspective.
You have insight on the feedback that was given.
I don't have insight on the feedback. Well, I talked to some players about what feedback they were giving. And some of them who I found out said anti-cheat. I was like, well, you didn't understand the fucking assignment, did you? So the stuff that because the question that I posed to STYKO is essentially the question that was posed to them. So these are the things that I wrote down, and I want to get your guys' opinions on these things and how you look at them. So I've kind of grouped Pika's advantage, dying behind walls, and the run and gun into the same category, because I think that whatever is causing that to be the case affects all of those things.
Okay.
What have I got here? It's because the conversation is holding lines is much more difficult, right? And I don't know if this is sub-tick related or the bodies were moving a lot more. Obviously, they've neutered that a lot, but that issue where we can't play with the interp commands anymore that they said were legacy and did nothing. Call fucking bullshit on that. This is probably a netcode thing that is caught, and people are looking at. I see Reddit threads all the time about like there's a delay, there's like this built-in delay and stuff. That run right there, without the transparency and without the ability for us to be able to experiment, we're kind of at the whim and mercy of them updating it the way we want. But that for me is probably the biggest and most annoying as somebody who doesn't get to play on low ping or LAN, right? Because
honestly,
I feel
like I even when I play like 5 ping games, I feel the same. Like it just feels very how do I say? It just feels unfair because the guy peeks you and you're dead. You're literally like, I know there are people that are better than me in this game, but there's literally no chance to react. It's just so fucking fast that it just feels pretty annoying. That's
you see clips of it all the time, right? Where people are dying and the people aren't on their screen. And there's a lot of things that I'm sure factor into that, but that is frustrating. That feedback that's giving you as a player is what? It's like, what was I even meant to do in this situation? Like not stand still, just be in the open, play the scenario incorrectly by like taking a fight that I should never have to take traditionally. That for me is probably the biggest qualm. The next one for me is the movement. Everyone knows I was a big supporter of the desub ticking binds. And I know that there's still a way to do that. But if the question was posed to you guys, would you prefer 64 tick locked movement or sub tick movement? I think it's a loaded question because if you're leading with the 64 tick, I just would like consistent movement. I would like movement that is replicable. I would like movement where I saw another Reddit thread about this the other day, and this is what I experienced. I feel the sliding, right? It just feels it's not all the time, but sometimes I feel just like I'm sliding a little bit further than I should be. And people are like, oh, you're not Counter-Strike. I was like, come on, man. I've been playing Counter-Strike for 20 years. Of course I'm fucking, I think I got that mechanic covered. But it just feels like you keep moving for a little while longer than you should. And that one right there, when I locked it to the desub ticked it, essentially, I was able to feel it felt normal. Things, it didn't feel like I was moving and sliding all over the map. That for me is a big problem. Do you guys notice any of that, or is that another chatty beef, like an old man issue?
I mean, I haven't played the game enough to be able to tell at the moment. Like I've just played in the last month, I played it just a few games.
Okay, fair enough. That's all good. These are just the issues I experienced. Then obviously the audio
Martin
one
probably has the best answer to this.
It's really hard. It's really hard to honestly answer you, Chad, because a lot of words that you're putting into the complaint is like I feel.
Exactly.
And with the I can't tell how you really feel. Like it's impossible
Yes.
to put it into words. And with the limitations that we have right now on creating a maps or a scenarios where we could replicate this, like for example, 3Clicks Philip was really good at this. Every problem that happened in CSGO, he was able to create a custom map where he was just specifically focusing on this. Right now, impossible. We cannot create a map. We cannot test things that we will drift away from feeling into this is
Hard
actually how it
facts.
is.
Yeah.
This is the numbers behind it. The console gave me these numbers and this is how it is. Because feel, into the field, there's a lot of things that comes into play. Netcode, as you said, ping, FPS, the rig that you're running game on, the version you're running game on, the server that you're connected to, if it's Premiere or if it's Faceit, then a lot of biased emotions. You cannot replicate kind of things, and it's kind of shame because the mapping is just not there. And I mean, there are custom maps, but they are not how to
designed
say
for
it.
this.
Yes. It's really hard to test something properly on them.
Yeah, there was a lot of people have done tests with the jumping. Like Launders had that video, and so did like Floppy and Elige did one as well that shows like the inconsistency with that. And that's the thing, that the argument that people will make is, oh, well, with the timestamps, it can be more accurate. But I had my rant last time. We're not robots, so we can't actually know where we are in relation to all of this and what velocity we're going to. I just think that in something that we're doing, you would want consistency to replicate over and over again. That's the reason players put in the reps. That's why they're doing the pre-fire, the crossfire, the fucking deathmatch, the muscle memory that we talk about, right? Like, and if things are different every time based off of something that you can't possibly control, then that, in my mind, doesn't seem like something that we should be wanting to promote in a competitive FPS, especially the one that's the gold standard. And
just to
I
add
know
on the
that
movement thing, like for me, the most infuriating thing is the fucking blocking when you're exiting spawn and wherever, but mostly when you're exit. That is so annoying, and it doesn't feel premier. Doesn't feel like this is top tier
quality
FPS.
experience.
No, it doesn't. It feels like kind of a very subpar FPX experience, like that, and just like dying, like the insane peaker speed are, for me, I don't play that much, but I played like this week like 10 games or something. Those are the two main things that for me just feel like this is shit. Why is this happening?
Yeah, and that's because our expectation is very high, right? Our expectation is this is the drama that has been presented to Valve, is they hit the end of the line of the capabilities of where CSGO was at and the engine it was at. And if we wanted to keep being able to grow and keep this game going for another 10 years, then we had to move. And that's why they made this decision. But everybody wants the game to be as good as it was. And we all know that it's not. But, and again, we've touched on this a few times, it's much better than CSGO was on release, right? But the standard, I think, has changed now. And that's where I am trying to take more of a young person's mentality, because I think the younger people have that mentality that, yeah, this standard is not good enough for what we expect. Whereas if I was to just use my plethora of experiences, then I would be a little bit more reserved. But the frustration bleeds through because there's not the lack of communication, because we know they're not going to tell us everything that's happening. That's never been the MO of Valve. It's just the things that we think are important, like 128 tick servers, are not important to them. And that's where like the disconnect between the competitive community and them producing a game for millions of people are two completely different things. So yeah, it's a weird one. It's a weird one that they're in, but I have faith that things will continue to go in the right direction.
You're back on that train now 2 weeks later, Chad?
Well, I was always on that train. I was just highly frustrated. I just felt like a little bit let down, them removing a command that made the game feel infinitely better for a lot of people, right? Like that's and without the acknowledgement of what's even wrong.
Fault,
yeah, and they don't even see it. So that's what frustrated me. And I was tired and cranky and a little bit jet lagged, and I had a lot of back pain. I had so much back pain, gave me a migraine, and I was laying on the ground one night before the first quarterfinal, vomiting. I didn't sleep all that night. That was not a lot of fun. That was yeah. Look, don't get old. That's what I tell everybody. Don't get old when you can avoid it. Okay, Anyone else want to say anything about CS2?
You nailed it with this optic thing. Like, it's all, everyone who plays the game is the main complaint. That's why I didn't mention it, because I know we will eventually get to it anyway. And just suggestion would be to abuse the hell out of it. If you're dying because you're being peaked, be the peaker. Like, abuse it the other way. Like, farm elo this way. And maybe it's how it's Counter-Strike going to be played for next 5 years. We don't know. Like, maybe they will not fix it. Maybe they think this is optimal. Maybe they will not find a way to fix it. Just abuse it while you can. And if they fix it, we're all going to be happy because it's better. If they're not going to be fixing it, you're going to be okay because you're already adjusted to it. Just, keep it going and abuse whatever you can, even the pillar and the monster. Do it.
Yeah, that's a healthy way to look at it.
I actually
don't
have
use
one
fucking-
thing.
Oh, yes, Lucas. Hello. How are you doing?
If anyone from Valve is listening, please take a look at like the GoTV auto director, because there's so many people who don't know how to, observe, but the auto director is fucked. Like, it's
With the auto director, Lucas, would you want it to collect every kill?
No, it's not even that. Like, it's like jumping up and down, not even like showing POVs. It's totally dead, not functioning.
You mean GoTV auto director or
Yes.
CS2 TV?
I mean, it's the same CS2 TV, Counter-Strike TV auto director. Like, it's trying to do a lot of things, and they've certainly tried to do improvements, but it's not working at all. So someone just watch a demo, turn on the auto director. It's horrible.
Okay. All right. That's where I think there can be a lot of improvements, but maybe they don't want to do that because they know TOs are going to make their own shit anyway. Not with the auto director thing, but like the HUD and the way that you're watching in CSTV and shit. It's a nightmare to try and cast off it. Like, it's so different. So I fucking hell. Okay. Let's talk a little bit about the traps of tournaments that are on at the moment. Roobet and Thunderpick have both been going down somewhat simultaneously. The match just finished not that long ago between Furia and VP, and now we have the grand finalists, I think, locked in for Roobet now. So it should be VP versus, is Monty?
It's Monty.
Yeah, so, okay, that'll be an interesting affair, won't it? So VP, obviously, we know... well, I don't know. Do we want to even? I haven't been able to watch a lot of the Counter-Strike. I don't want to get. What I do is I look at I should get his name right this time. The man doing God's work on Twitter. The old analyst for 500.
Physico. What a fuck! I'm saying the wrong guy.
CL_Physico. I just look at his videos and just see the videos that he's putting out to do with how people are using smokes or things that they're doing. And it's a great little way to get the surmise on different things that teams are attempting, like Furia smoking left and right of nuke top site. So they come out hot and then they go backside and they don't have to fight anybody playing CT vent main or that kind of, like, it's obviously not something which you're going to use a lot of times, but you only need gimmicks to work once. And with a lot of creativity at the moment that people can be having, that's my favorite thing about watching CS2 at the moment. Is seeing teams come with that. STYKO, are you that way inclined? Are you one of those like nerds thinking, how the fuck can we abuse all these things?
Hell yeah, you know me. You know me.
Yeah, right.
I'm up for all these things, or all the little smokes. I have few players that I, kind of focus on because I know whenever I watch them, I will see something new. Even if it's not executed perfectly, the idea behind it is something that is innovative. BIG being one of the teams, Monty being one of the teams, Robs in general, and even Furia, like, it's a different Counter-Strike. I love it. So I watch it religiously. Maybe not live as it goes, but in the demo reviews, I look at a lot of things that catch my eye. Even this Apeks thing with the blowing up nades on the nuke that Vitality did, I just found it randomly, honestly, and I'm glad I did.
Yeah, it's fun to look at the details, right? Because you're trying to work out how everyone's brains are kind of working to make it all happen. Are you just watching? I see that some of these guys, like, so there's like a prac.com now and Refrag as well. Are you just watching like through your own CS, or are you using any of these tools or anything like that to watch?
No, I'm using just the CS in-built demo thing. It's much better than in CSGO, much more responsive, much more nicer to work with. I don't have same problem as Lucas because I turn this observer off instantly, and I just do it, by myself, taking notes, maybe writing down some ideas for the content and streaming it. So I'm analyzing and learning while my viewers can do too. So it's fun little experience that I'm trying to get into my habit of, because I think it's important to look at the theory of Counter-Strike as well, to understand it, to play it better. It's not only just aim and running, gunning.
Especially with the situation we're in right now. All right, gentlemen, Prof Striker, any big takeaways for you guys with these events? We got Thunderpick's going to enter the playoff stage. When is it? 2 days from now? Friday, I think. They finish up on the weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
It's a bit weird considering, a couple of those teams are going to Shanghai for CAC. It's going to be really weird if one of FaZe or Mouse make it to the grand final, because it's like 3 days before CAC starts and they have to be there like the day before. Like, it's almost sounds like they'll have to go straight or something. I don't know.
Yeah, well, we all like a little bit of travel that far in a rush. Who doesn't? Yeah, no, that is interesting. That is quite a conundrum that you've just. Well, and this is the thing for these teams. Are they playing just to get the reps in? Are they playing to win the 250K? I guess 250K for an online tournament. Cloud9 knows all about that. So we'll have to wait and see how that one unfolds. But yeah, I think, well, this weekend I'll watch a bit more Counter-Strike. It just hasn't been something I've been able to do with my time zone. So do we have much we want to say about this?
No, not much. We're already like super late, so I think I'm
Sorry,
fine
everyone.
with it.
Okay.
It's as if you delayed anything. Like you didn't delay. We just went live. Usually, what's happening with you? Are you just sticking in Sydney, in Australia now, or what's the vibe?
So I extended. I was meant to leave on Monday, and then I extended to my flight until tomorrow, so Friday. But I'll probably extend again over the weekend. The weather's too nice, I don't have anything I need to be back in Malta for at the moment.
Yeah,
I don't have any more.
This is the only
events.
thing you're doing.
Yeah, and if I get the time zone right next time, I'll be able to wake up correctly and not keep our guests and everybody at home waiting. So I apologize to everybody for that. That was not my intention. I was doing all the right things. I was going to bed at the right time. I was trying to make sure that I was awake and ready to do this, but I dropped the ball. So I let everybody down, and I'll do better next time. I'll come back stronger. But yeah, I don't know. I'm going to extend my flight, I think, now. I'm going to change it a couple more days. It's like 36 degrees this weekend or some shit. I'd be stupid to go home. It's fucking beautiful out there.
Amazing.
Yeah, that's
Love that
that's
for
my
you.
life at the moment. All right, cool. All right, DK, got anything you want to say to the people at home?
Just thanks for having me here, sticking for 3 hours here. It's been a fun talk, as always. I always come to this podcast not to talk about CS podcast, but to talk to like you and the chat, because I don't know. It's just this relationship we grew over time, especially with the Striker and Prof, and then eventually you, Chad, as well, since I know you the shortest. So it's really, really nice to see you guys. So I just want to say that, and with Twitch Chad being around, it's just much more fun experience. So thank you guys as well.
Now, if people want to find you, what's the Twitch channel for STYKO?
STYKO/STYKO, and
Okay.
we will see you there. And we're learning Counter-Strike. Myself as well. Even though I know a lot of stuff, I'm learning every day. So you can't imagine how well you will learn, since you don't know anything.
I'm not logged in. I can't spam the Twitch link in chat. But same thing on YouTube. They just search STYKO if they want to find you. I guess if they go to your Twitch, they'll be able to find everything there. Now, if people want to get in touch with you, if there's somebody who wants to have STYKO on an analyst desk, they can also find his information. Give him a call up. He's a very well spoken lad. There you go. Lucas is spamming it right now. So if you're interested in the services of STYKO as a player, as a man, as a brain, you know where to find him. And thank you for joining us this evening. Thank you for Prof and Striker for getting things going, and Lucas as well. I got a couple of missed calls from Prof on my phone, so we'll get rid of those notifications in a moment's time, and we'll work out when we do the next show. I guess next week sometime. So thanks everybody for tuning in. Thanks to our sponsors 22Bet, SteelSeries, and Trade.gg. This has been another episode of HLTV Confirmed. Hope you've enjoyed your time, and we look forward to having you next time. Goodbye.
Best esports odds. VIP program, and a variety of bonuses. Fast and easy withdrawals. Bet on every possible CSGO match and tournament, as well as any other esports game. Only on 22Bet.
Are you tired of your boring old skins and looking for beautiful new ones? Tradeit.gg is your place to go for easy and secure trades within seconds. Simply pick and choose whatever item you want to trade from Tradeit's huge inventory. Verify the trade on Steam, and you're ready. With the lowest fees in the market and a beautiful, easy-to-use UI, Tradeit also offers you the option to instantly sell your items for cash. We accept a wide variety of payment methods. Tradeit.gg is the go-to place whenever you want to try out fancy new skins. Start trading today at Tradeit.gg.
It's a good vibe, trend, 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 trend. It's a good vibe, trend, 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 trend. It's a good vibe, trend, 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 trend. Good vibe,